Okay, hi everyone. I'm back. So, yeah, I am going to be reacting today to Candace Owens' feature on the Whatever podcast. Now, I haven't really watched this podcast of its own accord. I definitely have seen it come up from time to time, recommended videos, and they usually seem to be rather salacious in the content. Usually, the host seems to feature women who do like online cam work, let's just call it, and yeah, other interesting things. So, it was obviously an interesting choice to have her on, but I know that it's been getting the rounds, and as it has been up a couple weeks, I did watch it when it first came out, but I thought it would be an interesting thing to view and respond to. So, yeah, I'll be doing it live, and if you want to chime in your thoughts too while we watch it, definitely open to that. So, yeah, thank you for being here, and I'll just get this set up for us.
Welcome to the Whatever Dating Talk podcast. Thank you for tuning in tonight. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. We're coming to you live from Santa Barbara, California, every Sunday and Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I am your host, Brian Atlas. I'm joined by my co-host, Kiki. She's a bit shy. A few quick announcements before the show begins. This podcast is viewer-supported, heavy YouTube demonetization, so please consider donating through Streamlabs instead of super chatting, as YouTube takes a brutal 30% cut. So if you super chat 100, YouTube takes 30. If you donate 100, Streamlabs only takes 3. Streamlabs.com/whatever. Link is in the description. For the sake of a smooth show tonight, we have temporarily boosted some of the donation and super chat triggers, guys. If you want to see all the details, links in the description. We're also live on Twitch right now. Pull up another tab, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow in the Prime sub if you have one. And yeah, so we had a false start there. So I'm a little befuddled there. Anyways, without further ado, we're going to have the guests introduce themselves one more time. So please tell us your name, age, and occupation. Go ahead.
My name's Azalea. I'm 31, and I'm a flight attendant and content creator.
What kind of content do you?
Twitch streaming, OnlyFans,
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. What about you?
My name is Lexi. I am 22 years old, and I'm a full-time sex worker.
Okay. And when you say sex worker, what do you mean?
I do content creating like on OnlyFans, as well as stripping at strip clubs, and I work as a legal courtesan in Nevada.
A courtesan?
A legal prostitute.
Okay. So have you ever been to a court?
No.
Like, not like for criminal reasons, but like have you ever been
what I
in
meant.
No, but like courtesan.
We're going in.
You know, I mean, there's still kings out there that have a court. So you could, like the Philippines, do they have a king? Do you know?
I don't think so.
There's some kings out there.
There's
There's the king of
to be.
Sweden, like an actual, court.
Courtesan.
Okay, all right. She's a courtesan, folks. Okay. What about
A
you?
legal prostitute. That's the term for it.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Pixie. I'm 24 years old, and I stream politics on Twitch.
All right. Welcome back.
I'm Essie. I'm 24. I have 2 jobs. My passion is social media management, and then I do OnlyFans as well.
Hey there, I'm Olivia Bentley, and I am an intimacy coach. I am a legal sex worker, and I am an OnlyFans content creator.
Did you say age?
46.
46. Okay, got it.
Hi, I'm Tara. I'm 22 years old, and I'm an EEG technician and research assistant in the field of clinical neuroscience.
I'm Lily. I'm 23 years old, and I'm a couple things. I'm a student at Belmont. I'm graduating soon, and I'm a personal trainer, and my goal is to be a worship artist. Gotta make
Welcome.
money though.
I am Candace Owens. I'm a wife. I'm a mother first. And I also obviously have a political podcast, documentary filmmaker, and I just create a ton of content regarding what's going on in the media landscape.
Sweet. And you have tomorrow a documentary
Yes.
coming soon,
Yes.
convicting a murderer.
Very excited about that.
What time does it drop?
You can watch it live on X tomorrow night. I'm super excited about that. It also will be available on Daily Wire Plus. The first 2 episodes will be free. And yeah, it's jumping into kind of building on Netflix made Making a Murderer, made it seem as if Stephen Avery was guilty. I don't know if you guys watched that. It was everyone was obsessed with this idea that the justice system got it wrong. We kind of went in, re-examined the case, and created Convicting a Murderer, which is a 10-part series, first docu-series I think we've ever done at the Daily Wire. Extremely proud of it. It's apolitical first and foremost, and it's it's been a labor of love. So I'm super excited to bring it to everybody and to change people's minds about what they thought they originally knew about the case. So, yeah.
And you went boots on the ground in, what is it, Manitowoc County?
I went to Stephen Avery's
The junkyard.
Yep. And yeah, I like to get my hands dirty in terms of really understanding what's going on and talking to people in the town and seeing how they are impacted. Because for us, we scroll through our cell phones aimlessly and we comment on these cases, but real lives are impacted when something goes viral, and especially when something goes viral and produces the wrong answer, lives can be destroyed. And in this particular circumstance, you have a man and his nephew that are in prison, and they get love letters and they've got fiancés and adoring fans and people writing songs about them. And that's all because Netflix was able to produce a docuseries and people believe that everything they watch is real.
Oh God.
And so I'm really interested in dissecting the deceptive media narrative in a bunch of different circumstances. Just, what they're feeding people, what people think is the norm, what people think will bring them happiness, what people think is true. And so that's kind of been my shtick, so to speak, for the last 9 years.
I remember seeing Making a Murder when it came out. I think it was 2015.
Correct.
I never
and then
watched
they came out
it
with like
myself.
a part 2
I don't know about
a couple
any of
years
you all.
later. And basically, my understanding is your documentary is saying, nah, he did that shit. Is that about?
And that's the most eloquent way to put it.
I mean, there's obviously you would go into some details and you've reanalyzed the court footage and the documents and
just showing people what they didn't want you to see, essentially, because when people decide on a narrative, the media gets fully behind it. It's a full court effort. It's supported by the usual pundits and suspects. Alec Baldwin got behind the Stephen Avery innocent train. Nobody thought about
not Alec Baldwin.
murdered. Trevor Noah got behind it. I kind of say anything that goes from Netflix to Alec Baldwin to Trevor Noah, you should immediately have your radar up and just go, am I hearing the truth or am I listening to propaganda? And I'm fascinated by the impact of propaganda. I've been impacted by propaganda. I'm obviously a person that started with liberal tendencies. I think everyone knows that part of my story. I was left-leaning, so to speak, and now I'm super conservative. So
Yeah, Seth, just to respond to your comment here, I do think she is rather boring as well. I don't know. She can be funny at times, but it's always interesting to me how much hatred there is directed at her, given how to me, she just comes across as pretty inoffensive. I mean, compared to what's out there in terms of her peers, I never got why she gets all the.
It's right on par with everything that I do and everything that I've learned in my life about, not just accepting what the media is trying to spoon feed you.
One question. So, and I don't know if you want to save some of this for what's in the actual documentary, but what would you say is the most egregious thing Making a Murderer did that they just either something that was deceptive or something that was omitted? If there's one thing that was just the biggest smoking gun or.
Yeah, well, I think I can definitely tell you this because this will be within the next 24 hours, people will be able to see this. But just skipping over who he was before they believed was wrongly convicted of this murder. People tend to tell you who they are early on, and a person that's torturing animals and cats and dogs and, in a relationship that is, with a minor who's crying and talking about that, he just had a very long, thick packet of crimes that they decided not to mention or to entirely diminish and make it seem like, oh, that was nothing. Yeah, so what? He threw a cat in the fire and doused it in gasoline, the family pet. Not normal behavior, not something that we do when we have a couple of drinks.
Oh my
And I
God.
think that was kind of the most egregious thing, really unpacking everything that they chose to leave out about who
Okay.
he was.
Can I make a pitch to you and to the Daily Wire for
Yes.
the next documentary? Can you guys look into the Tiger King? Could you guys maybe put Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles on
Oh my
it?
God, Matt Walsh and the Tiger King needs to happen. I'm fully behind you on this pitch.
Yes.
I will
think
bring
that-
this to the right people who can make the right decisions.
Please, please. Can I get like a little special thanks in the
Matt Walsh and the Tiger
in the
King is
credits.
irresistible.
Oh my goodness.
do you think that would be
Really?
Matt Walsh would be the best
Yes.
at the Daily Wire to tackle the
Yes.
Okay.
There's just something about the fact that Matt's a cat and he always kind of gives you the impression that he doesn't want to be there and he just has to kind of lecture us all. Like he's like the classic dad.
Right.
But I just find him to be so funny, even when he's not trying to be funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Well, we'll go around the table once more. So, what is everybody's current relationship status? So, are you single? Are you in a talking stage, situationship, friends with benefits, relationship,
This is
married,
like a dating
polycule?
podcast, I guess.
Are you whatever maybe? So, if you're single, how long have you been single, and what's your longest relationship? Starting with you. Go ahead.
I'm in a relationship. I have been for about 1.5 years, and my longest relationship is 2 years.
Okay.
I am single, and my longest relationship was probably about 4 years.
How long have you been single?
I've been single for about, I want to say, 1 year now.
Okay.
I'm single. My longest relationship was like around 3 to 4 years, and I've been single since like February, around there.
Okay.
Single. I've been single for 6 years almost now. So
Since you're pretty much 18, you've been single?
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Did you have like a high school boyfriend or anything like that? Or
yeah, I think I dated 2 guys in high school, but it was very
at the
brief.
same time?
No,
Oh,
definitely
separately.
not.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. What about you?
So I just got out of a relationship of 6 months with a federal agent, and I am single, ready to mingle.
Federal agents?
Yeah.
CIA? FBI?
Oh,
Coast Guard? Oh, wait, that's not it. Never mind.
federal agent down in Texas. So
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. And what's your
on it.
longest relationship you've ever had?
I wonder if I've dated any federal
It's
agents.
7
I wonder
years.
sometimes.
Were you married or?
I was.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right.
I'm currently single. My longest relationship was a little over 1 year, and I've been single for about 1 year.
I just started talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, but I guess I'm single. And my
Talking?
longest relationship was about 3 years.
Wait, sorry, you just started talking to somebody, but you're
I've been single since February 2022, and so it's really fresh.
okay.
So I would
got
still
it.
consider myself single.
It's early on. Okay. Candace. what
I'm
about-
married. I'm married. Third child on the way. Third child will be here in 10 weeks.
Oh, you're pregnant right now?
Yes. Are you kidding me? Very
Oh.
pregnant right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
But it's good
far-
of you not to assume, right?
Yeah, I
Think
don't
you might
want
get in
to.
trouble
I
one
don't
day.
want. Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
get into any trouble.
Yeah.
You're how far along?
30 weeks.
30. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Any
Rounding the
thoughts on
corner
Is
here.
it a boy?
Thoughts
girl?
on whether it's a boy? No,
Well-
I have a biological
Well,
understanding that it's a boy.
Okay.
No,
No, I didn't mean it that
let's
way.
keep
I
the
didn't mean
thoughts
that
out of
way.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's definitively a boy. And I have one boy already at home who's 2, and I have a little girl that's 1. So we're on the back. I've basically
Awesome.
been pregnant for 3 years, so this is kind of my permanent state at the
Sure.
moment.
Wow, I mean, yeah, congrats, and it's certainly impressive that you still you're working like crazy, and
Yeah, well, otherwise you'll just drive yourself crazy.
yeah, sweet. And how long have you been married for?
4 years.
4 years.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said earlier on that you used to be kind of left leaning or super left
Definitely
leaning.
left leaning.
Okay.
Yeah. Which
Like
I think
nose
is pretty.
ring, pink
No,
hair?
no, there's no
Okay.
there's no old photos
No,
that are going
okay,
to
okay,
surface
okay.
of me in a pussy hat screaming about aborting my children. I'm safe
Gotcha.
in that regard, but I mean, I would say I was definitely on the left, held liberal perspectives, which I think is actually really normal when you're young. I think when you're young, you kind of associate liberalism with freedom, and you're like, well, I mean, even the word sounds better to be a liberal than to be a conservative. So I think that's why they have that quote that if you're not a liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative when you're older, you don't have a brain. So it turns out I had a heart and I do have a brain. So now I'm a conservative. And but I'm actually happy that I used to be a liberal, because I think I understand why people gravitate toward it. And it helps me better able to communicate to people because I can understand where they're at. Yeah.
Got it. And since I feel like politics is sort of related to dating, because obviously I assume most people want to date and partner with someone who has shared values. So let's go around the table. What's everybody's politics? Would you consider yourself, let's say, liberal, moderate, conservative, apolitical?
I mean, I guess I would have liberal stances, or what people would call liberal stances. I don't like to call myself a liberal, but that would be where I guess
Progressive,
you would put me.
maybe?
Progressive would be a good word for it.
Yeah.
I guess liberal.
Okay.
Or liberal.
I consider myself a progressive.
Okay.
I would say I'm an independent, where it's like in between, but kind of more so leaning right, just based off of how I was raised.
How were you raised?
Super conservative, super religious.
Okay.
So
maybe moderate politically. Maybe are there some things you're a bit more progressive on, other things you're a bit more conservative on?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
So when I started out in my early 20s, I can relate to Candace. I was a little bit more on the left. And then as time has gone on and I've worked real jobs and I've been out in the real world, I'm more to the right. I am independent and I don't like our two-party system. I think it's failed. But I would say I lean more to the right.
Okay.
I was raised very liberal, but I found myself becoming more conservative, especially over the past 3 years. But I wouldn't fully call myself a conservative yet. I would just say I'm still centrist.
Good place to be.
Same. I used to be pretty liberal, but I am very, very conservative.
Oh, you already answered. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So I have a first
What
question.
Brian's politics are.
I'm trying to hold on. I'm seeing where I want to start here. Actually, wait, we had one chat come in. I'll just read it while we have it. Goodest boy, thank you for being on the show, Candace, but the world is effed. Can already tell from the panel that your views will not change their outlook. Never say never. Brian, you could be an amazing psyoper. Just saying. I've had a couple accusations that this show is a psyop by the CIA, believe it or not. I've had a couple.
You have any show that is an accusation that you get.
Have you had?
Oh my God, yeah. It's
Candace Owens show is a psyop. By who though? Who is psyoping? Okay, I don't know. But goodest boy, thank you very much for that. And then we had a couple. We had this one.
7 Deadly Simps donated $200.
Nick, can you boost the audio a little?
Dear Candace, what are your thoughts on Proverbs 21:19? Better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. Also, 777 decillion 777 no million 777 octillion 777.
He's just kind of joke. He's kind of memeing because
777
the TTS voice will read anything.
Quadrillion,
but so thank you, 7 Deadly Simps. It's almost. I think it's almost done.
777,777.
Welcome
I
to
definitely
whatever
didn't read
podcast. So your thoughts on Proverbs 21:19?
I like that we just jumped right into the Bible. That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
I would say that, yeah, you should aspire to marry the right person. Definitely.
Okay.
Without question, you should aspire to marry the right person, and part of that is making sure that when you're dating somebody of value, and that also when you're considering looking for someone of value, you also take a second to measure yourself and see if you are a person of value that's worthy of marrying, because I think people forget that part. And that's almost the most important part.
Got it. So recently a video went pretty viral on the internet, and Candace, you actually tweeted about it, something about shashuka. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So Nick, if you can pull a video, we're going to just have the panel react to it. And then before you go full screen on that, So Matt Walsh posted it, and I saw this everywhere. I saw it yesterday. Her life doesn't revolve around her family and kids, so instead it revolves around TV shows and pop stars. Worst of all, she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is. And then Candace quote X'd it, quote tweeted, I don't know anymore. Quote X'd it. This is what was future. Wait, this is what was. Okay, this is what a future depression, Xanax and wine combo nights alone looks like. But hey, the shashuka.
It's gonna be amazing.
So let's play the video. Nick, if you can go full screen on it, and then we'll get the
I
panel's
hate
reaction.
this video.
Wine nights.
It's 10:45 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night, and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, just probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone, and I saw a picture of shakshuka, and I thought, it sounds really good. Maybe I'm going to learn how to make shakshuka today, because I have no plans, and I don't have kids, and I don't have a husband, and I don't have errands to run. I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy, and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about blue.
Ethereal Land, just pausing it for you. Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting from this podcast, because I haven't watched many episodes of it, but every little thing I see come up of it is a group of young women usually. I mean, today they've got two women, one in their 30s and one in her 40s, but generally it's very young, naive liberal women, and then they're just kind of torn apart from what I can gather. I have watched clips of a couple things, and I'm usually not in agreement with these women about their perspectives at all, but a lot of it does seem to be just oh, you think this? Well, let me denigrate you for it. I mean, it's encouraging them to share things that are maybe too intimate about themselves. And I don't know. Are they going to make fun of her for wanting to make shakshuka? Well, I think they already did. I think Candace on her show did that already, or not on her show, but her Twitter. She was making fun of that. So they're kind of responding to that because it came up. To be honest, I found this woman really irritating. Who goes on about how you're 29 and single and don't have kids? Honey, I don't even know. It's it's pathetic. As far as a topic about your life, I can't relate to that stuff. I am single. I do not have children. I cannot imagine that being my sole purpose for making content online. You know what I mean? It just is not relatable to me, and something about it comes across as really pathetic, and I don't know, you don't have to explain yourself. That's the thing. It's normal. A lot of people in this culture are single. A lot of people your age don't have kids. You're not odd. I have not heard of Fresh and Fit. No, maybe you can explain what that is. Yeah, it's a weird niche, and I find this woman insufferable. But anyway, let's get back to them dragging her, I guess.
Zone countries. So I've got a pretty stacked day. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything
You're
else.
29.
I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make or the Beyonce concert I want to go to really pays off.
What is
when I'm
shakshuka?
hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
I thought it was gonna be really her going shot, shot, shot.
So, what?
I haven't
Why do
heard
you
of
guys
it.
think that this video went kind of crazy viral, and what's the analysis here?
I mean, it went crazy viral because Matt Walsh tweeted it. Let's be real. That would have just gone into the ethosphere on TikTok, and no one would have talked about it had he not picked that up and tweeted it.
Well, was Matt? I don't know if Matt Walsh was the first
He
person.
was.
Oh, was
Yeah.
he really? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But I guess what's interesting to me is that this woman has actually even said, she gives herself a hard time. She wants to be married. She wants to have children. So I don't think that it's right to demonize her and act like she's going to have a depressing life when she just hasn't found the right person, because clearly she wants those things and she's trying to make herself feel better and other people in that community feel better about not being that far along. Because like you said, you wanted people to settle down with the right
Not a
person,
race.
take their time, figure out if that's the right person. So just because she's 29, you're saying that it's too late for her and she's going to be doing Xanax and drinking wine at night because she
No.
hasn't reached that point
I
yet.
didn't say that. That's not what my tweet said. That's not what my
You
tweet
said the future.
Yeah,
Right.
Because she's obviously a narcissist, right? So
Why
the
would you
issue
think
first
that?
and foremost, let's not pretend this is one video that she made. It's her brand on TikTok. It's her brand on social media. She talks about these are this community known as dinks. We're happy and we're childless. She talks about how great it is to be childless. So she has developed she's a social media influencer that talks about childlessness. So let's not pretend this is one woman making a video who just said, "Oh, I had a great Saturday." There's absolutely no reason, if you had a great Saturday at 29 years old and you learned to
Sounds
make
good.
shashuka and you slept in at 11 until 11:15 or 10:15, whatever she said, that you need to bring up children. Is that
Do you want me to respond to Fresh and Fit sometime? Is that something you're interested in? I've never heard of it. Is there anything worth or that you would like my take on? Let me know if there's a video or something you'd like me to watch. Gosh, Terry, you're going to hate this world. What do you mean? The podcast?
absolutely no reason. You just say, here's what I did today. I laid in all day. I did this. I did that. The fact that she has to correlate it to saying, and this somehow makes me better than people that have children is the problem. She started, she literally goes on to talk about not having children. It wasn't necessary in this video. So it's not like people are just shaming single women on the internet. You could go on right now and talk about what you've done all day. And there's no reason to bring up, but having a child or not. She's actually doing the shaming. And now we're trying to pretend that she's the victim. She's not. She has a brand where she talks about
shaming anyone. I
and
just
she
think
talks
she's
about loneliness,
boring.
selfishness, and all the things that are amazing about not having children. Again, this is not the first video that she's produced. So the reason why, and if you're a man watching this, don't marry this woman. She's basically telling you she's selfish. She's telling you she's a narcissist. Everything she says is about me, 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 me. Even if you're single, you don't have to make your whole day revolve around you. You don't have to. You can get up in the morning. You can go help others. You can do other things. You can say, now that I have free time as a single woman, I can go dedicate time to the church. I can sing. I can do this. I can help people find God. That particular woman that you just looked at is a selfish bitch, and men should not marry her. That's my personal opinion.
You wanted to come in really quick.
Yes, I wanted to answer your question real quick as to
She
you
went
said
for
why
her
it went
neck.
viral. I think it went viral
Dude.
because it's like nowadays it's relatable in our day and age. You know what I mean? Like 22,
It's
23
not
years old. I don't know
relatable.
how old this girl is, but like
29.
29 or whatever. But in my day and age, like it's relatable to be like, haha, we don't got kids. Like, quote
You're
unquote,
22.
fuck them kids. You know what I mean? It's like,
I'm glad you're admitting that.
It's like that.
I'm glad
Like,
you're admitting that.
It's like a term that people use, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just relatable.
honest.
Like, that's why it gets so many views, is what, to answer your question.
I think that's really honest of you to say that.
You wanted to come in, go
Fuck
ahead.
them kids.
Yeah.
No, I said
I'm
quote
just gonna-
unquote.
I was
That's what
gonna-
they say. You know
Yeah,
what I
but you're
mean?
admitting that so that she's starting the fight. You're looking
And
at
it's a
people that are
trend,
moms.
that are
Like, I don't
trending. It's a
I'm not,
trend.
when I'm with my kids,
Right.
I don't post videos and say F them single chicks with no kids.
Right.
She did the baiting, okay, and we responded. That's it.
I don't know.
Like it's a
The
new
first thing
trend
I was
type
gonna
thing.
say.
Hold on, let's just let Essie
Yeah.
go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
first thing I noticed about the video was that she was putting people with kids down. It'd be fine if she was talking about how her day was and wording it differently, but it seemed like almost immediately from the beginning of the video that she was belittling people with kids, which I think is like the part of the problem.
Pixie, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think
I
this
just
is like
thought
up
she
to
was-
interpretation, because personally when I saw that video, my interpretation was like, oh, she's putting herself down because she's saying like, oh, you know, when I tell myself why am I not further along in life, you know, it's okay because at least I'm enjoying these things. So I could definitely see, like, depending on how you're looking at it, or if you have further context, why you would think she's putting kids down. But when I saw that video by itself, I was thinking like people are kind of going a little bit overboard in the sense that she says she's being harsh on herself. She doesn't have children, and these are just the things that have made her happy today. And I don't think that by itself, without additional context, is inherently wrong.
Anybody else? Tara, did I say it right this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know the background of what other types of content and messaging she puts out, but just from that video alone, I don't think to me, I never got the impression she was shaming people that women that were married to kids. It felt like she felt bad that she wasn't already there, and she was just trying to be optimistic about it. And so I think it sounded more like her content was about making women who are childless and not married yet and are approaching the end of their reproductive years to like look on the bright side.
29 is not the end of your
all my friends
reproductive
know I'm,
years.
like, so
oh my God.
eager and ready for like marriage and kids. But I really honestly just didn't get that impression from that video alone. She was in any way.
So when she was talking about, I got to go to a Beyonce concert and I didn't have to pay for a babysitter. You don't think that was belittling?
That was
obviously
selfish
of her to say that.
Yeah,
but
sounds selfish,
and she
was
that.
being rude. And if it was flipped, and a conservative woman with children said the opposite of that to single women,
it would blow up.
It would blow up, and they would say, "How rude of you! Why are you even mentioning single women? Just say you had a good day with your kids. That's fine. If I said I woke up, went to the park with my kids, did that, okay." Chill. Why are you correlating it to children? It doesn't make any sense. So, and like I said, she's produced more content, so that the context is important. She's leaned into this as a brand and as an influencer. So, then you're going to expect the people that influence people to have families to respond. Matt Walsh being among them, me being among them. And I would like to, again, warn men against marrying a woman who holds those sorts of perspectives, because she's ultimately just selfish. Like I said, you can have a day and you can be single. You don't have to dedicate your whole day to me, narcissist, me. Here's what I did for me. It's just not a woman that you want to marry, full stop. For leaving the kids totally separate from it. I wouldn't marry a woman like that.
Go ahead.
And all I'm saying is like, it's sad, but it's crazy that like it's a trend. You know what I mean? Like that's why they're getting so many views on TikTok or Instagram or whatever they're posting these things on. It's like, it's a trend. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Just a show of hands, who here wants to have kids one day?
More, yeah. It's my third, but
besides Candace, does anyone here have kids?
I do.
You got kids? How many?
Yeah. I have a son. He's 21.
Okay, gotcha.
He's perfect, and I'm good.
Okay.
But one thing I noticed, a trend, like I agree that it's a trend, and she's doing that to brand herself and go viral and get a lot of attention and maybe monetize that. When I talk with other girls and they're younger, and I'll say, "Are you married? Are you planning on having children?" Sometimes that's a hot button for them, and it's maybe perhaps these kind of trends are like it's a rebellious thing, because sometimes it's expected for people to get married out of the gate and have children and that kind of traditional lifestyle. If it's an expectation that parents have that they put on their children, and younger generations aren't having it, especially these days when it's so hard it's so expensive. People are having to work a lot. That's just one thing I've noticed. A little pushback on that question, even when I ask it. And I love children.
Gotcha. And I don't recall if you had a response to Candace or...
I mean, I was just going to say the opposite content does exist. And I would say that it's more prevalent, and usually there's more of it than there is the opposite. And whatever community she wants to represent, I think that...
Just going to respond to some comments here. I don't trust people who dislike kids or who get unnecessarily angry with them. Yeah, it's kind of inhuman, really. Children are part of society. It's like, yeah, I don't like it either. I think I had a bit of that when I was younger, definitely, but I grew out of it. It was very immature. children are the future. How do you, I just think that they're really either rebellious or traumatized themselves if they're, going on that way. Hi, Icarus Fallen. This podcast is pushed everywhere on social media. Yeah, it is. Podcasts like this make me black-pilled, not red-pilled at the state of the modern world. I have recently come across some black pill content, and honestly, I don't know, maybe I should respond to some of that sometime, honestly. I don't know. It's I think, the arrangement of this podcast is kind of, I can see how it would, definitely drive someone down some dark, into some dark places. But, it's important to understand that these people are specifically curated to, give certain responses to elicit a certain response. And out in the real world, there are a lot of people who are not this way, who don't think this way, who don't act this way, and I think analyzing it and, looking at it, kind of trying to have an objective stance and understand that this is, a lot of the women on this, I think the majority of the women that I've seen on this panel right now are sex workers. So, that's going to be a very skewed perspective that you're going to get from, people with that background. Just, they're going to have a very different outlook than the average person. This podcast is turning out to be a bit better than the Fresh and Fit podcast. I don't know. Recommend something. Should I check it out and respond to one? Maybe I'll do that for you, Ethereal Land. Okay, so let's resume watching.
That somebody that is single, and obviously, like I said, she closed out the video saying, I know that women that are married and have children can do all of these things as well, but this is what makes me feel better because I'm not that far along. And I think if she's giving comfort and solace to women that want to be in that position and aren't quite there yet, whether you took it that way or not, I think that that's okay.
Stop being pathetic.
She did, and there was meant to be charitable. It was all about her. So,
a partner, a husband, a wife, children.
It is becoming trendy.
These are gifts.
Yeah. And but by the way,
guarantees in
speaking
life.
to what you were saying about it being an act of rebellion, I used to be a feminist. If you had found me, you're 22, right? Found me at 22, I would have probably had the same perspectives as you about family. It is something different, and you will realize that when it's someone that's 29 years old and saying that, it's not the same intention. It's not, I'm young, I'm free, I'm wild, and I think I'm going to live forever.
Mm-hmm.
What she's doing is something different. And also just recently today, actually, Emma Ratajkowski came out with a quote about, I think getting divorced before you're 30 is chic. That's something else. Mm-hmm. And that a woman at 22, a woman at 29 saying something that is appropriate when you're at 21 or 22, it's a little different. And she knew what she was doing. It was intentional. And like I said, if you look into her content, this is not some innocent woman that was posting just to boost herself up on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to get clicks. She's trying to get views.
Right.
And she got them, for better or for worse.
I want to come back a little bit now to people's relationship status. So, or not even so much relationship status, but perhaps it's related. So
gender
both
war,
of you
yes.
do courtship,
sex work,
courtship,
courtesan. That's an old-fashioned historical term.
Okay.
Back in the day, courtesans were able to own property, whereas the little miss didn't have that ability. The way the laws were written back in the day of ancient years, like the wife was toddlerized, and then the courtesans were able to go and attend the meetings with the politicians and the business owners and actually state their case and be influential.
But okay, so I'm just trying to differentiate here because courtesan, that's when I think of it, I think of
courtesan would
people
usually come
who
from a
are
pretty
in the
noble
court,
background
typically.
herself.
There's
In
a
the courtyard.
kingdom.
Yeah.
There's a kingdom. There's a monarch,
Mhm.
and there's maybe some of them are dukes, maybe, or
It's from that
there's
era, but it
viceroys. There's some viceroys in there. There's a couple of I don't know some other terms. Lords, ladies.
Yes.
But okay, so you guys work in Nevada, is that correct? In what's the place that you guys work at?
There's different brothels. The Bunny Ranch. I've been at the Bunny Ranch. We've both been there. We both worked at the world famous Mustang.
Okay.
Those are more normal.
Oh, so you guys both don't work there, or you don't work there anymore. Do you still work at what is it called, the Bunny Ranch, or?
So we're independent contractors. So
take your time.
So like when we're on tour, we contract ourselves out, with whomever.
Okay.
So that might change.
Sure. So a couple questions here. So I don't know, maybe it's changed throughout the course of your life, but how many? Maybe you see men, maybe you see women. How many per day or per week? Would you call them clients? What do you call them? Tricks?
Clients,
what
friends. No, not tricks.
Marks?
No.
No? Okay. I don't know. I don't know the terminology. I'm not in the world.
Some
like he
providers
does.
may, but they're not maybe
Okay.
the most respectful.
Okay.
I like to deem them friends as soon as I
Sure.
get to know them, and
Gotcha.
and we are like friends. Sometimes we're like married couples, but
Yeah.
it can be it depends anywhere from like 2 to 3 a day. That's a lot.
2 to 3 a
But
day.
maybe
Okay.
5 a week.
Okay. What about you?
So anywhere between 2 to 3. Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
Anywhere between 2 to 3.
Okay.
And sometimes 4 or 5, depending on.
Sure. Per day.
Yes.
Do you know what the most is in one day? Like, was there one day?
It always fluctuates.
Okay. Is there ever like a 10, a dozen?
I don't.
Yes.
I mean,
Baker's dozen?
it can. It
okay.
Can happen.
Sure.
Oh, he's so disrespectful.
When coming off the heels
it's
of
really kind of
Dennis Hoff's
irritating.
Cat House, there were, I
What?
mean,
Oh, Nick, hide. And
They're going on pause to make sure the information they're sharing is okay.
Okay, we're fine. Okay, all right, good. All right, welcome to the Whatever Podcast. Always something.
Yeah, it's
Where
really. I wish
I was mentioning after Dennis Hoff did his famous show.
Just to say this, like as an aside, I don't know if any young women are watching this. You don't have to answer questions. A lot of the times, men will ask you questions that they have no business asking you, and honestly, the best response is to not respond. That is the most appropriate thing. And I feel like he's just used to doing it. And to me, just the way he's speaking to these two women who are, sex workers, it's so obvious he knows what the hell he's talking about, but he's saying these little disrespectful things as kind of like a joke. But I'm too savvy, I'm too savvy to not see what he's doing. Yes, Marky thinks the host is so corny. He's more than corny. He's evil. I see his game. He has a little thrill. He gets a little thrill from, subtly degrading women. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. We're gonna continue through. We're gonna plow through. We're gonna get through it. We won't watch the whole thing because it's like hours long, but we're gonna watch Candace Owens do her little thing on this. All right, let's continue.
Cat House on HBO. He drummed up a ton of mainstream media. He got one of the girls on Oprah and whatnot. There were so many people coming in. Those were the days where maybe you'd be seeing like 10 clients, 12 clients in a day.
Okay.
Oh God, that sounds horrible.
Gotcha. And for you two, has being involved in prostitution, has it had any impact when it comes to your romantic prospects?
Yeah,
I've got to be able to be myself and fully disclose, and I need that person to accept me for who I am. Bottom line.
I have had no issues doing being a legal prostitute. I've had no issues being a legal prostitute just because I haven't been dating anybody within this time for that year.
Mm-hmm.
As for everything else, it's hard dating. I've ran into a lot of insecure men. Typically, those are the ones that can't handle me doing what I do for work. And
just a point of clarification. So you've run into a lot of insecure men, and are they insecure because they don't want to date you because you are currently active as a prostitute?
No, I'm saying I've never dated a guy while I was working at the brothels, at the Bunny Ranch or the Mustang Ranch. But I've been dating guys like between me doing camming and dancing. So that's what I'm talking about.
But you mentioned insecure men. What specifically are they doing that makes them insecure? Is it because they're insecure about your work?
Yes, like I've had exes in the past that would cry about me going to work to dance at the strip club.
Okay.
I've had guys try to control like what I wear and say that I can't work at strip clubs or do OnlyFans or whatever.
Sorry, was there more?
No, and that's
okay. Is it because they're insecure, or is that just them having boundaries and standards?
I feel like that's, I mean, you knew what I was doing before you met me, right? So all of them knew exactly what I was doing before they met me, which brings it to, if you have a problem with what I do before you meet me, maybe don't get involved with me.
Sure.
I'm very open. I'm a very honest person. You knew what I was doing before you met me. If you don't like it, there's the door.
Okay, I just want to touch on what she said there. I don't think that she kind of understands why men, would go into dating her and be okay, at first. And then once they form an emotional attachment to her, kind of start to have a problem with the fact that she is doing sex work. And I think it's just, they probably very liberal men she's dating, they're open-minded. But when a man actually cares for a woman, he's going to have an instinctive, protective feeling toward her. And he's going to naturally, that alone, there's more to it than that. Obviously, a man doesn't want, other men coming along and touching his woman or, being sexual with his woman. But apart from that, at a very base level, if he's starting to catch feelings, he's going to instinctively feel protective. And it's just, even in the best circumstance, it's a dangerous circumstance to be in, and if he really does care about her, if he is really developing true feelings, of course he's going to want her to not do it. Of course he's going to want her to stop. Of course he's going to come to his senses, and all of that liberal BS that he has going in his mind about sex work is work is going to go out the window, because he's going to be like, oh my God, he's going to instinctively want to protect her, rescue her, take care of her, take her out of that. And that's just the way that men are built. If he genuinely cares, it's going to be very difficult for him to not have those feelings come up. And I don't think most men, unless they've actually dealt with this situation, really understand how they're going to feel about it. So I don't think it's insecurity on their part. I think it's actually a complex web of human emotion and sexual differences between men and women that come up. It's not insecurity. It isn't. It's deeper than that.
Nobody's making you stay.
I think too, gentlemen love the idea of dating us, and then once we go to do it, then it's not really realistic.
Right. It's almost like fetish.
A fetish.
Like you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's so hot. I have a girlfriend that does this, that, and the other, and then when they're really at home, and I'm like on OnlyFans or on a call with a client or whatever, they're like, no, this is weird. This is weird. You know what I mean?
It is weird.
And that, I think it's an insecurity, yes, because you knew where I was coming from, you knew what I was doing, and you weren't okay with it. Then you should have made that a point.
Well, I mean, I suppose you have a point that, I mean, if they knew going in that this is what you do for work, you're a stripper or you're doing OnlyFans or you're doing sex work, then I think it's a little bit of a stretch that all of a sudden, a couple weeks or months into a relationship, then they start changing up. But I think
if only human emotions were
differentiate the conversation
rational.
a little bit, for example, like let's say, and I don't know if you mentioned this when it comes to like posting perhaps revealing photos online, not intended for commercial, like they're just on Instagram, but they're not monetizing it. They're not content creators, or like, for example, if they go to the bar, club, party a lot, would you consider it insecure if a guy, maybe 3 months into a relationship, at that point he started having issues with you or with another girl? Hey, he started saying, "Hey, I don't want you to go in the clubs and bars anymore."
And he already knew. You're saying he already knew this?
Well, like I assume he knew. Yeah.
So, if he already knew, then.
Well, I guess my framing is prior to dating, he had no problem with you or with another girl engaging in what he considered to be single behavior at the time. But once you or whoever it is started dating, he wanted his partner to act in a way that he thought was more consistent with being in a relationship. So perhaps it's okay to go out to, me personally, even if I'm single, I'm not really interested in going to bars, clubs, and I don't post revealing photos online, but
thank God.
I don't know. I feel like that men don't do that too much. I mean, there's certainly men that post like whatever. Anyways, but once you get into the relationship, there's expectations that certain things change.
Well, with the sex worker.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just differentiating when it comes to like posting revealing photos. If it's not for your work,
then yeah, like I can separate my work identity from my personal life.
Go ahead. You want to come in?
I mean, if we're talking somebody that's not a sex worker and is posting revealing photos, I think that that's something that you talk about before getting into a relationship with somebody, because then if you're talking, and a guy is like, my expectations for my girlfriend are XYZ. I don't like these kind of revealing photos for my girlfriend. I don't like you going out all the time. And then I think from then on, that's when you decide whether to make a relationship serious or not, because if she doesn't want to restrict where she's going or what she's doing or the type of photos she's posting for him, then that's her decision. But I don't think that it's wrong for a partner to ask her, hey, if we're in a relationship, this is what I expect. And then, she makes the decision, yes, I will do those things, or no.
But do you think that so early on, like say on the first date or second date, that there's enough of a relationship established for a guy to have enough, I don't know if leverage is the right word, but like enough pull or influence to be like, hey, listen, I don't want you doing this anymore?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
But that's, I mean, she just said that you should early on, you should say,
not date number one. Date
not
number
date
one
number one, not
okay,
date number
okay,
two.
okay.
That is
maybe
wild.
date number
Wait. I think there's two things.
Go ahead,
going
Don't
on
date
here.
a woman
think,
who behaves in ways
you
that
can
you
date
don't
someone,
like.
and then as a relationship evolves and changes, some things that you thought you were comfortable with, you're like, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this anymore. Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
I mean, just
I think that's very distinct than going into a relationship thinking, oh, I don't like the fact that she posts this types of photos. I'm gonna make her stop. I'm gonna change her basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like the problem with this is you can't turn somebody into someone they're not. If she's the kind of girl who posts revealing photographs of herself and goes clubbing and is a party girl, she's probably not. And you want to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't do those things, look for someone who doesn't do those things. Because those kind of women are probably not looking for a boyfriend. I mean, just to be honest, I mean, that kind of behavior is, I mean, maybe they are, but they're not thinking correctly. And regardless, like, I just want to stress this as well. A lot of people put way too much emphasis on relationships when they're still single, like legally speaking. Okay. Like, if you're not married, you are single. And I wish more women like would absorb that message. If you are not married, you are single. If he is not your husband, he has no claim to you and has no right to ask certain things of you. And a lot of this confusion would just be, wrapped up if people would just go about dating those who share similar interests. Now, if you're the kind of guy who is into clubbing and being raunchy, then that's your kind of girl. I don't know what else to say. Like, if you're not that kind of guy, don't date that kind of woman. It's so strange. And yeah, I mean, you cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. It's a very old phrase. All right. You can't do it.
Because you're setting up, I think, everyone for disappointment. You're setting up yourself, her. There's a difference between going into something, having feelings change, talking from there, and intentionally trying to change before you even date, really.
I have a question. Yeah. If you ever fell in love with somebody, would you be willing to delete all of your stuff if they asked you?
Would I be?
Yes. Oh, okay. If you, as a sex worker and everything that you do, if you fell in love and you found someone and they asked you to stop.
So with that being said, I am currently single because of what I do for work. I am very much so busy doing my work, and I'm full throttle, like wanting to make money and capitalize off of this industry to the best of my ability and make it to the point where I can retire. And then it's like, also making this much money and doing what I do for work, it puts me in a position to be able to meet the type of guys that I want to meet, right? The higher end type of guys. And maybe later on down the line, not anytime yet, I would be open to it if I find everything happens for a reason. You never say never, but like if I found Prince Charming or something one day and he didn't want me doing this anymore, or I wouldn't be doing this anyways. I want to retire from it at one point. And then, yeah, eventually maybe.
And when you say high-end men, what do you mean by that?
Like
high value men?
Yes, high value.
Or men with a lot of money?
High value.
Okay.
I have a question for
high value men don't tend to hang around the
both of you
sex
do
industry.
OnlyFans. Having done OnlyFans, continuing to do OnlyFans, has it had any negative impacts on your dating prospects? Does it make it harder to date? Has it been maybe non-issue at all? Some guys like it.
I've never had an issue with it dating wise. No one has ever, because I'm very upfront too. First date, if this is what I do, if you don't like it, this is how I make my money. Unless you're going to pay me the same amount of money I'm making, then I'm not going to stop supporting myself. But yeah, I never really ran into issues. But again, I don't do full pornographic content or anything like that. So it probably is a little bit different for somebody on OnlyFans that does do that type of content. But I personally have never ran into an issue. My boyfriend at first was, I told him and he was like, okay, well, if I'm going to date you, I have to be okay with this. And that was that. And it's never been an issue.
Sorry to ask you a question. What kind of content do you do on OnlyFans?
Mainly topless content.
Okay.
So,
and you currently have a boyfriend?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Just that's the extent of it?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Essie?
I've also never had an issue in my dating life. I don't date that often though, but
right, because you've been single for 6 years.
Yeah.
But it might not necessarily be related to that you're now doing OnlyFans.
Yeah, I also don't do nudes on OnlyFans, so it's just like lingerie content.
Oh, okay.
So I think that also maybe helps because
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Question here for Candace. So, what are your thoughts on OnlyFans, sex work? And do you believe that a woman doing OnlyFans or porn might have an impact on her future romantic prospects? And if so, how and why? I can repeat it. That was a lot, so let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
I talk about this extensively on my show. I mean, the truth is that if you are going to engage in sex work, you are going to probably make a lot of money, especially if you're young. You're on a very tight rope as you get older. Your value goes down, and men are going to want women that are younger and available to them. I'm talking about in terms of just making the person who will subscribe to your OnlyFans page. You know, obviously, women, you're declining as you age, and the truth is that high value men don't want to date women that are sex workers or even women that aren't sex workers and lean into the whole talking about how sexy and are freely available on the internet for other men to see. What we're talking about is biological proclivity. What men are doing when they first say, "This sounds amazing to date a stripper or to date a prostitute or to date a sex worker," is there's this instinct to have sex. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have sex all the time. But then when they realize that actually a form of wanting to be in a relationship is feeling that there's a mystery to a woman, that there's something that's yours, there's something that's sacred, there's something that's powerful and beautiful that just you share. And when they realize that they have to share that with other men, it completely diminishes the man. A recent cultural example of that, obviously, is what's happening with Nina Agdal. She's not a sex worker by any means. She just kind of said some sexy things on the internet about wanting cock, and look at what...
Was not expecting that from Candace.
I'm quoting her directly, so this is purely academic. Purely academic. And look at what happens. You know, now Logan has become the laughing stock of other men as they piece together everything that she's ever said that's overtly sexual. And again, she's not a sex worker, but what happened is her value just completely plummeted because they're this thing that men need to feel. And I don't want to say possession in a way that sounds bad, because it's not bad. It's actually really beautiful. And I'm lucky and fortunate that I get to experience that in my marriage, and it's something that women should strive toward. Women that make those exchanges in their youth, I think that's sad, and I do feel bad for Nina Agdal, is because she said a lot of those statements when she was really young. She's probably your age. And she had a camera and she said it, and it lives forever. Right. And now every man that she dates is going to say Dylan Danis has made her available to everyone. And I hope things work out between her and Logan, but if you don't think that that's going to impact Logan, or that's not actively impacting him as a man, it is. So with women, it's a trade-off. First thing you said was, I make money. This is about money. It's about money. But when it comes down to marrying these women, men just don't want it.
And that's exactly why I said that in this industry, I'm single until I retire.
But it will still matter.
I don't plan on doing this or getting married or finding the love of my life until I retire, like truthfully. And then after that,
you see what happens to Nina Agdal.
No. And then after that, I will be honest and truthful with the person that I will be getting married to or whatever. And it'll be up to him to accept that. Right. So,
I'm just saying that men's natural proclivity is to not accept that because it brings them shame. Men are biologically proud creatures.
I understand, but not everybody can be like.
No, I know. I'm not. I'm just telling you what is happening and why people are. I'm just talking about cultural events, the Agdal thing, and if you look at people like Emily Ratajkowski, she's obviously hot, but this is a woman who's now trying to make divorce chic, and I think that the understanding is in Hollywood is, sleep with her and move on. She's not marriage material. Her husband, when he had her, cheated on her because they didn't have that thing. I feel like I've slept with the girl. I've seen her naked so many times, right? So there's nothing special about Sebastian Baer marrying her because we've all seen her naked. There's nothing sacred in that relationship. And I'm just speaking on telling you, this is why women struggle to get married when they've made themselves available on OnlyFans, because other men don't want to share. They don't want to share their wife. They maybe will share their girlfriend. They might think it's fun to date a stripper for a little bit. They might think, oh, this means I'm going to have sex 12 times a day. But then when it gets down to just their biological instinct, it's actually quite embarrassing for them as a man, because they can look up your girl and here she is, so that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I'm just curious about your opinion on this, because I've seen like a couple of people in like Red Pill spaces, like Tates or people similar to that, talking about how they should marry a young woman. Would you agree or disagree that might not be the most like rational course of action?
To marry a young woman? What do you mean by that?
That I hear a lot of men talk about how a woman inherently loses value as she gets older. and that's why that they should seek out young women.
Well, I live in the South, and a lot of people get married young, and I think it's really beautiful and wonderful. They preserve this sort of innocence. I have people that work for me that want to get married at 22. They drop out of school. So I don't think there's anything wrong with marrying when you're young. I'd have to see the full context of what they're talking about, because I do think, obviously, the longer you wait, and especially in this society that's creating this simulation that sexuality equates to freedom when it doesn't, that what he might be suggesting is that the longer a woman runs free, the more partners that she's gathering, and her worth is being diminished. And I think that there is some veracity to that. But, if it's said in a way that sounds a little crass, like seek out younger women because they're not as used, and I can see why people would be offended by it, but that might be underpinned by a little bit of logic. So I'd have to see the clip in its entirety.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because in general, I think men do have a biological proclivity. I can't pronounce that word. Proclivity. To seek out like youth and beauty. But I also think when it comes to like settle down, you want a mother who's going to be responsible and good towards her children. So I think the idea that like men seek out beauty is true, but I also think men seek out a level of like responsibility and maturity that only comes with age. So I was just curious because of the other stuff I've heard from people.
And also,
I'm gonna stop and just respond to comments. Let's see, y'all been chatting. Okay, I don't appreciate that. I think Candace is lovely. I really don't understand the hatred towards her that exists in this culture. I don't get it. I think she's cute as a button. Roger that says men see women as service providers. Can you elaborate what you were responding to or what provoked that comment? Because I don't think that you're wrong, but I think that that's generally the nitty-gritty of a relationship. And I don't think women don't see men as service providers either. You know what I mean? Candace, they're using red pill. Y'all with the pills. Stop with the pills. Candace brings no intellectual analysis to anything. She just judges. If you watch her show, she mostly covers tabloid topics. I do watch her show, and I find her funny. And obviously, I don't agree with everything she says, and sometimes, there are times when I do think she is judgmental, but I think she's usually right in her judgment. And sometimes she's very hilarious in her judgment. This week when she was talking about Jada Pinkett Smith, I lost it. It's also black pilling. My goodness, y'all, stop taking pills. I feel like I hear about OnlyFans girls all of the time, but I'm just wondering how many of them there actually are. I don't really know. I mean, I have no idea. There's probably quite a few. It does seem to be a big thing.
So it's like sex is just sex. Like, it's just sex. And
just
when you have a partner, you have an emotional connection with them. And so like the guy on your last podcast, he was on here a few days ago, he was saying how like for men, sex is just sex. But like spending time with a woman and like buying her things and like going on trips with her is like different than having sex with just random people. And that's why they were like in an open relationship or whatever.
Can I just have you scoot your mic that way a little bit? Yeah, perfect.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that like swapping DNA is like just sex. I mean, a man leaves a piece of himself inside of you.
But man, that's the way they think. And like for women, we get attached to them emotionally, right, having sex with them.
Which is why they get attached. It's more of when women have a lot of partners, it is different. It is worse in a way, and people don't want to admit that. But because we are more emotional, there is an attachment. It isn't just sex for women. I think women are damaged by those relationships. Women like to think, because of the social simulation, that it can just be sex, it's whatever. non-committal, the only people that benefit from that lie are men. You know, it is not great to have sex and have a man not call you back. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't matter if a BuzzFeed article says it does. I had a wonderful weekend and this is why I had sex and didn't worry about it. You feel used, and especially I would say if you're not a sex worker and a man does that and never calls you back and you don't even have money to show for it, I think it diminishes your self-worth even more than your worth to a man.
The reason why I say sex is just sex is because in our line of work, we see it as transactional, right? Especially when we're working. And then at the end of the day, they go home to their wives or whatever, right? And it's like you're emotionally being there for them and taking care of them and doing all this, that, or the other.
So then sex clearly isn't just sex. It's also emotional. It can be.
Yes. It can be, yes. But I was saying, according to the guy that he had on the last podcast, he said that for men, sex is just sex. And that
I disagree with the idea that sex doesn't harm, or casual sex wouldn't harm a man or does harm women, or that sex is just sex. I think
it's harmful to both sexes.
But I think it can like lead to a lifestyle of just like pure hedonism, whether you're like a man or a woman, and that can be like dangerous because then you're losing, you know, sight of other things that you value or other aspects of life. So I don't really think like I think for some people that can be true, but I think for the majority of people, like there's a reason why a lot of people are only into monogamy, or why that's been like the norm for a lot of cultures. And I think most people are a little bit hardwired to kind of seek out those intimate relationships. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I think that's how most people are, where casual sex can be harmful.
And I think it can definitely be harmful for men. I want to be clear. I'm saying that it's different for men and it's different for women, but I don't agree with the statement sex is sex. It's just sex at all.
And it's natural to be like attracted to a lot of different people. You know what I mean? So it's like, but that comes with self-control. I think attraction is one thing, and acting on those needs or wants by sleeping with multiple people I don't understand that.
Did you want to come in on
I
this?
guess I don't. What do you mean?
Like,
I don't understand
not
why
in
would
response
you?
to her, but just the
in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the idea that sex is just sex. When I was younger, I definitely had a lot more, you know, like casual sexual relationships, not one night stands or anything by that measure, more like situationship. And as I got older, you know, my views on it kind of changed, and, you know, you do feel differently when, like you were saying, it doesn't feel good to hook up with somebody and not have them call you back. So I actually was celibate for about 2 years before I met my partner, doing OnlyFans and everything else.
Your current partner?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sleeping with anybody. I like stuck to it very hard because I just didn't really like the feeling of sleeping with somebody and then getting an emotional attachment to them. So I think that certain people, because everybody is different, I don't think that it's that black and white. But I think to some people and to some women and to some men, casual sex really is just sex, whether they're leaving DNA or not. I think that there are people that do actually feel that way because I've met women that are like that. But for me, it is not that simple. And I don't think that it's that simple for most women.
Can I raise a possibility just because it's something that I've sort of seen? So I do think it's possible that for some people, sex may be detached from romantic emotions with that person, but I do think there may always still be an underlying psychological part there of at least an ego boost, at least some sort of like grab for validation, some sort of grab for emotional intimacy, even if you're telling yourself, I'm just doing this because having casual sex is empowering and sex is just sex. I think even in most of the cases where people genuinely believe they're just having sex because it's sex, if they ask themselves a little further, why am I really doing this? Is it perhaps just, you know, to placate my ego, or for some sort of male validation, or for some sort of like intimacy or connection because I maybe am not getting it romantically otherwise, in a more like serious relationship. I would also press for that as a possibility, even in those cases of people who genuinely do think for themselves that sex is just sex.
Well, I mean, I guess we can look to the people that do it professionally. I mean, do you feel that there's some underlying male validation in your work or no?
I find it very meaningful. I find it meaningful when couples come in and they want to work on something. They're working on a goal. Maybe he's got a mental block and we're working on that.
The gentleman that comes in that's having issues with erectile dysfunction and he's trying to troubleshoot that, and we actually create success for him. It's meaningful to me.
Wait, just one point of clarification. So you're a sex therapist?
As
Yeah.
sex workers, we're basically sex
I mean,
therapists.
I don't have a
okay.
counseling degree. I have a master's degree in
Actually,
education.
we have
I'm
an
a teacher.
article. You recently kind of went viral. Nick, can you pull up the article? Like, New York Post.
Yeah.
New York Post. I'm a sex therapist.
Yes.
I sleep with clients to save marriages.
Oh my gosh. I didn't
They
realize
went
you were this
crazy.
person. I did see.
Did you reacted to this, or you saw
almost
it?
did, but I'm here.
You're here now. So,
Perfect.
Nick, can you pull up the article really quick?
That is so salacious.
Sex therapist Olivia Bentley. Wait. Nick takes a hands-on approach with her clients by sleeping with them. I've saved marriages. The Boise, Idaho native told Kennedy News, calling her work life-changing. I get physically involved with the majority of the people I see. I think that's part of the appeal. The veteran sex worker who spent 15 years in the industry claims that women have asked her to demonstrate sex acts on their husbands, while some wives grant their eager hubbies a hall pass to pay Bentley a visit. Good times.
Yeah.
Is that pretty accurate? I mean, so you save marriages by having sex with the husband?
Well, I think the tabloids went a little crazy.
Oh, they
with the whole,
okay.
But
New York Post is known to
they really went wild with it. But I do help a lot of couples that come in. One right now is asking me to lend a hand, and he's more of a beta, and she'd like him to be more of an alpha, and she wants me to work with him on being more just outwardly in control and aggressive in the bedroom, things like that. There's a lot of different psychological needs and reasons why people would want to come and work with professional sex worker.
Sure. Candace, it seemed like maybe you had something.
I think
on
it's
this.
the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. It's so in the realm of like dragons and mythological creatures that it's hard to respond to. The idea that she's saving marriages, it's just
you're in disbelief.
I'm actually in utter disbelief that she's saving marriages.
Here's another example.
Sure.
Okay. So and there's multiple clients that do this, where the wife will not have sex anymore. She went and said, look, when they were courting each other, she was down for sex. She was a sexual person. She was all about it. Then let's fast forward. They're married. We're married now. Contract solidified. I don't want to have sex anymore. Ew, oral sex is gross. Oh, that's demeaning if you're asking me to do that.
So you're not saving marriages. You're helping people to keep up a farce that they are in a marriage. Because at the very moment that you let someone else into your marriage, it's no longer a marriage.
No.
Boom.
Women turned around and said, I will allow you to see a professional.
So they are not in a marriage. That's the point.
They're married.
Or some of their wives are like
dying
dying from cancer and this, that, and the other.
If I'm dying from cancer and my
somebody
husband
sleeps
goes
with
to
somebody
sleep with somebody, I
else,
swear to God.
And their wives are the ones that come.
Hold on, just one at a time, please. Go. Candace, were you?
I just would like to make the point that at the very moment that you loan your spouse out, especially if you're dying of cancer, so that they can get off, you're no longer in a marriage. So it's just a farce. It's like it's a comical. You're pretending for people that you're in a marriage, that you're in a loving relationship. That's not what a marriage is. So to say that I help marriages, no, you help destroy marriages, and they can go out and say that we're still married because what we've done is we've essentially said, you take care of this aspect of the marriage. It's like saying you raise the kids, you have sex with him. This isn't a marriage. It's the whole thing is fake, right?
What do you think that they should do? What do you think that
they should work on their marriage together? The union between a husband and a wife should work on their marriage together to fix it. You don't bring out an outside person to sleep with your husband or your wife.
But if she's saying, I'm not down for sex,
then she might be down for a divorce.
I want to outsource the sex.
What if she's
going to
die from cancer and she wanted
pause
him
this for a
and
sec.
she allowed him to do that? Because
if you don't want to have sex with your spouse ever, like, why are you married? Like, clearly something is broken there. I mean, but Anyway, I'm going to catch up with the comments. I know this part is making y'all's minds go off. Y'all are like, yeah, I want to respond to this. Yeah, I agree that promiscuity signals that someone is unlikely to be loyal and monogamous. And also it to me indicates that someone does not value themselves. Period. Like if you just are open to anyone, you know what I mean? If it's a revolving door, come on. I used to wonder why people use the term hopeless romantic, but life taught me that I am one. It is a hopeless disposition. Oh, I understand too. I'm that way. Or, yeah, have those tendencies. Look, sex, money, and the superficial things of life are what make the world go around. I don't know about that. I really don't think that's true, honey. I don't think that's true. Maybe for some people, maybe for many people, but I don't think it's enough. What the hell? Why is it always client? I mean, I think depending on what they're doing, it can make sense, but yeah, I know. It's your marriage is already destroyed. Candace spitting facts. Yes. We're with Candace. All right. We're with Candace. The majority of the chat is with Candace. Let's continue.
He needed to get off some way or shape. While she was dying of cancer, one of the last things on her mind was,
this is a real life. This is a real life. This is a real life. Yeah, this was a real. I'm asking you.
And is that what he told you?
This, yeah. So
that his wife that's dying of cancer wanted him to come have sex with you?
Not with me. This is from what I've heard. Yes,
somebody told you that there's that as a dying wish. My dying
so
wife
how would
said,
you want
go
that?
have sex with a prostitute?
I saw it on TikTok.
I'm just going to call bullshit on that altogether.
No,
I just don't
because
think
it does
when you're
happen.
dying of cancer,
it happens.
Going through leukemia.
People will literally bring their guys here.
Please bring them on the podcast.
I just want to say,
yeah, honey,
that
I'm dying. Please go fuck a prostitute.
There's
a lot of crazy shit.
There's marriage counseling where they can take you through sex therapy, where you don't have to sleep with somebody else. If it's about a woman not wanting to have sex anymore, what's the underlying reason? Are her hormones messed up so she's not wanting to be sexually active? Is there not enough foreplay when they're having sex? Like, there's other avenues you can take for sex therapy.
Normal couples counselors.
Yes, real couples counseling,
like regular.
Where you try to solve the problem and you release it, and you don't just source it out to a prostitute.
Go ahead.
The cancer thing is crazy.
It's just the most absurd.
The cancer thing is crazy. But outside of that, I don't think it's up to any of us what constitutes a marriage, because every relationship is different.
So
if a husband, okay, but
his words have meaning.
Not everyone is religious.
Well, wait, hold on. Is that a cross necklace?
Does it constitute like what do you?
Wait,
Yeah.
Okay, really quick.
Not everybody's
Since
religious.
we're talking about religion, really quick. Okay, you have a cross necklace, but then your shirt says "Made in Hell."
Yes, it does.
I'm a little confused.
Ironic.
Can you?
I mean,
I'm a little confused.
The stone is red, so it matched. You know.
But why are you wearing a cross on your neck?
Are you color coordinating with your neck?
Because I don't see a cross as religious, so.
Okay.
I
Just
thought
like you don't see a
necklace was
marriage as religious. So
I don't think that a marriage
has a meaning, which is why it's like we're at a stage where people are like, "What is a woman?" Because they just go, "Well, we're going to call it a marriage, but we're going to sleep with other people. We're going to bring in prostitutes. We're going to outsource raising the kids, or we're never going to have kids." You're calling it a family. It's not a family, and this is what it is. The words have no meaning, right? I'm wearing the cross. Why? I don't know. I don't think of it as religious. Okay, well, Jesus Christ died on the cross.
You think that.
That's what you think.
Wait.
It's been proven.
Yeah. So why are you wearing the cross?
I
grew up Catholic. I was religious, and I'm not anymore. I don't have to believe in what you believe, and I can say that if
I didn't say you had to believe. I asked you a question.
But you're
why are you wearing the cross?
Okay, and you're saying that the religious aspect of marriage is the only thing that matters. It's not, because people don't follow what you believe.
Yeah. Okay, I asked you why you're wearing the cross, and you said because you thought it was cute.
Yeah,
I'm glad we got an answer. She's wearing the cross around her neck because she thinks it's cute.
I do.
Would
I'm
you
not religious.
also wear like a Star of David?
It's cute.
Like if it was cute, would you wear
Well,
it?
okay, well, I
just
don't
mean
know
like
where we're going.
I'm
where this is
asking that
going
because
here.
I wonder.
Well,
like
I
my
have-
guess is that you would think that maybe you wouldn't wear a Star of David because you're like, oh, this is maybe like disrespectful to people who are.
Are you making the
Jewish.
argument? Maybe. I mean,
No, I'm just
the secular.
It's a very
here,
good question.
I'm just saying.
devil's advocate here. Secular argument. Someone might just say that the cross is just maybe it's more aesthetically pleasing even for an atheist. I don't know.
Sure, but
I don't know.
liberals
Okay,
are all about
look.
like having
Would you wear,
respect
like, a
and
yarmulke 'cause
tolerance.
it's,
So
like,
I'm
cute?
just like wondering if you
I'm
think
asking,
it's
would you wear a yarmulke?
I think those are very
Oh,
different
are you talking
things.
like
Why is the
blasphemy?
cross
saying-
different
I'm
from the yarmulke?
I'm just.
I mean, I was
asking-
raised Catholic, and that's just
Would
not
you
something
wear
that
a
I believe
yarmulke
anymore.
if you thought it was cute?
No, I wouldn't wear. I mean, a yarmulke is completely different than
No,
a cross
it's
that's been
not.
adapted
There's
into different. You can
symbols
buy a
of,
cross
like, a
necklace anywhere.
There's symbols of a
Okay,
religious.
the argument of why it's different basically would come down to like how Catholicism has been practiced versus Judaism, in the sense that like Catholics did use the cross symbol, tried to emplace it like in indigenous populations, tried to spread it as much as possible, and that's why in modern day a lot of
Fuck
people
off.
think that's like more okay because it was meant to be
Oh,
popularized. It
that
was meant to
language.
be
I'm
a
sorry,
symbol
y'all.
that the masses
This
should look
is
up to and
serious.
should see in general, versus Jewish symbols.
Okay.
I would argue didn't go through that.
I think
Oh,
we're kind of
man.
derailing a little bit. You wanted to come
okay,
in. Go ahead.
yes. So back to the interesting brothel stories. I wanted to say we do actually have men coming in with their parents. Yeah, this actually
their
happened.
wives.
Wait.
So I had a time where
No.
a guy came in with both his parents all the way from England to come to the Mustang Ranch because he wanted to lose his virginity.
Wait, is this
And
really
his
where we left
parents-
off? I'm just not following.
And his parents
the relation to our
paid
previous.
for him to have sex with legal prostitutes.
Hurrah!
I want your stance on that because
And-
what's your
and
stance on
I
that?
would-
Haram.
and if I may,
And wait, can I
nowadays,
just say
like,
that for
we-
me,
we
I
usually
enjoyed the
call it
experience.
sex workers, not prostitutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
Well,
I'm
she
sorry.
said,
Wait,
she
wait,
said
wait, wait.
prostitute.
Yeah, it's because
Okay.
they keep.
Wait,
But
did
it's
I-
because they keep.
Yeah,
Wait,
like
just-
Yeah, you said
usually
prostitutes at
sex
the beginning of the
worker,
episode.
prostitutes a
Is
little
it
bit more
question? Is it
demeaning.
like a? Is
Well,
it?
she said that at the
is it
beginning of the show.
offensive?
Legal
Yeah,
prostitute,
she
yeah.
said legal prostitute.
Yeah.
Is I don't want to offend anybody. Is prostitute like a?
It's old
offensive-
school. It's still on the books, like on Nevada's books, but like the
what's
hipper
the desire?
way to say it is sex worker.
But here's the
these
thing with
days.
sex workers.
Personally,
that can
me, you can call me a legal prostitute.
Yeah, she
I
said
got
it.
you.
Cool.
But the thing with the term sex worker is that is such a broad. It includes strippers. It includes women who take lingerie photos who aren't naked. Wait, question. Stewardess okay? Because you're a flight attendant, so I'm just curious.
It's not the term that we
Would you be
prefer.
offended if someone referred to you as a stewardess?
No,
You get any older?
older people do all the time.
Doesn't bother you?
No.
Okay. All right. Just curious. Just want to make sure since we're
Yeah.
okay.
It's not a big deal.
Earlier it was like talked about like how, you know, sleeping or letting your husband or wife sleep with someone else is like irresponsible or it's not a marriage anymore. Like I'd be kind of curious of what you believe a responsible marriage is like. Or I understand that you have a religious view on marriage, but when I think about marriage, I think like I could see somebody saying they're married if it's like completely romantic, like you're not allowed to do romance with anyone else. Like basically, what does responsible marriage mean to you?
Marriage is not just a contract. Like it wasn't just like the government came up with a contract people to get married. You know, the history of marriage, you can't separate that from the church. The problem is people are trying to make things cool and trying to update and make them modern. And now people are saying you can have a polygamous marriage and you can bring in other people on the outside of your marriage. What's the point of getting married? Literally, I'd like to ask the question: if you think that you can, if you want to marry somebody and then outsource the sex, you know, outsource the responsibility, outsource what the labor of love is actually supposed to be about, why not just stay single?
Right.
So you wouldn't do a threesome with your husband?
Absolutely not, because he's my husband.
Do you
Did
believe
you even have to ask that to get the
Well,
answer?
I mean, there's
Absolutely
married
not.
couples that want to have
Absolutely
threesomes.
not.
And you know what
That's
happens
why
later?
Candace.
They're
And you
bi-curious.
should jump into those Reddit threads because every single time that marriage ends in divorce, there's so many Reddit threads
No,
about.
they don't.
Oh,
And a
yeah,
lot of
I
them
have-
actually
I have
do
regulars
really
of
well,
over 5
too.
years.
Okay.
And
There's
they're
some that
not
do really
Do you
divorcing.
believe
Well-
atheists can get married?
I think atheists get married because they want a tax break. I don't see the point in an atheist getting married. Why don't you just live with your partner? Okay. Whoever it is that you're dating, you're at the stage you said, I don't know if you live with your boyfriend or whatever it is. Why take the next leap? you're wearing crosses for fun and, it
I mean,
seems
if
like
you're actually
good.
asking
Yeah,
the question,
yeah.
I mean, because then I would just be pledging the fact that I would want to be with them forever.
But you can just be with them forever. So what is it that you crave that when you want to get married? What's that next step for you? What does it mean? What's the difference between dating and marriage?
Because it's a commitment.
Is dating not a commitment?
It's a commitment, but it's saying a next step. It's solidifying it.
Okay, solidifying what? Because if
solidifying a bond between two people that love each other.
Okay, but what is solidified? If you can then jump into that next commitment, which is the exact same as dating, and you can sleep with other people and you can put topless photos on the internet, what are you getting married for? Pictures on Instagram to say you did it?
I mean, I'm not sleeping with other people.
What's the difference for you between dating and marriage?
I just told you it's a bond between two people. You're solidifying that by law. You're literally making it known. I want to be with this person forever. It isn't just a simple breakup. Oh, I can go and do whatever the fuck I want and leave. It's a partnership. It's a bond. It's forever.
But there's no difference between dating and marriage
there is
other than the idea in your head that it's a bond, because you're saying also.
But it's not an idea in my head. It's on paper.
Oh, okay, it's a paper. That was.
But it's not but I'm saying it's not a tax break. It's a legal thing.
And I think
I'm
for people
connecting
that are
to somebody for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, I think for people that think about marriage and don't think about a cross as something funsy to wear, it's not a piece of paper. It is a union
Candace
between
is going
a man
in for
and
this
woman,
girl
a
a
sacred
little
union
too
that should
hard.
be protected from external forces. Definitely not something that you open up. How I would feel disgusting if my husband ever came to me and said, "I want you to sleep with another man or sleep with another woman so that I can fill my sexual fetish." I mean, it's an utter perversion of what it means to be married, and it will lead to divorces. People that have this perspective will, and I'm not saying that if you don't do it, you won't get divorced 100%, but I do want to say that there is probably a reason that a lot of sex workers struggle to find people that want to marry them.
Well, can I say a lot of the perversion that comes if you are not going to be acceptant with your partner, if he comes to you and is like, "Hey, I really like getting pegged. I want you to peg me." And you're like, "Ew, that's so disgusting. Like, I would never do that. You want me to eat your ass? I would never do that." Well, then, okay, what are you going to do? Divorce him? Or what are you going to do? Realistically, I'm asking you, hold on. I want to know, what are you going to do? That's your husband. He's like, "Hey, babe."
I think one of the things about marriage that's really beautiful is I know what my husband, before we got married, I think I know who he is.
But things change, and maybe he wants to start exploring.
He wants to start doing what?
He wants to start exploring, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, maybe I do want you to like eat my ass, and I kind of want you to peg me. Like I kind of want anal penetration from you because you're my wife and you're so beautiful and hot, and we're married and we have kids together, and I'm feeling a little bit kinky, and
we have kids together, but I'm going to ask you to do
marriage
that.
And bond.
Hell no.
How would you feel if we could just try this out just this one time, babe? Please.
I think it would probably indicate to me that my husband was involved in some perverse world, whether it was through pornography, that something else was happening on the side, because these aren't normal things that people just think of when they wake up.
So
like,
what's your
hey,
next
I'd
move?
really like a strap-on dildo.
Okay, right.
Well,
so what's your next move?
What's the ultimatum? He's going to divorce me if I don't peg
him?
him?
So what's your next move?
Crazy. I would think that individual would probably need therapy and not the kind that you give.
Okay. And but you're gonna stay with this person?
You don't immediately divorce.
Okay.
Marriage is about working through issues and working through problems.
Okay,
You don't immediately divorce them. And this gets back to what she was saying about if suddenly a woman doesn't want to have sex, which would be another huge issue in a relationship, I would hope that my husband wouldn't instantly divorce me, but I would hope that they would take
some guys are terrified of that, and some guys don't even feel like they can open up to their wives about that
Sounds
stuff.
like they need therapy.
They need therapy.
I know.
You got to work on your marriage.
But the thing is that they'll come to us talking to us about that. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
and I think that's unhealthy. And I think that, the fact that sex workers exist as this, what you believe to be a solution, when in fact that's a detriment, because you're getting in the way of the wife and the husband being able to communicate. And so I would much rather my husband go, if there was an issue and your wife's not having sex, I'd rather him go talk to a priest. I'd rather him go talk to another male. When males sit down and talk about, "Hey man, you should talk to her about this." I'd rather him.
What man nowadays
let me finish my statement. I'd rather him. What do you mean, bros talking to each other about things? That's a normal. I'd rather, if I have an issue in my, it's pretty normal. I'd rather go talk to my sisters about things that are going on in my marriage. There's a lot of steps you can take before you talk to a prostitute about your marriage. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I live in such a crazy.
Well, I'm saying, what man is willing to do that?
Turn on a Taylor Swift song, cry a little
side,
bit in my room. I don't know. There's a lot. I would turn to Taylor Swift before I would go to a prostitute about my marriage.
I know, but you're not a male, so I'm just saying, like,
men can talk to other. What are you talking about? There's all of these podcasts of men talking to men and being inspirational and talking about porn addiction and talking about the things that are corrupting men's minds. That's out there.
Okay,
and those are. I would much rather my husband listen to those men,
right,
and look for guidance, whether it's in the church, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's a spiritual leader, than to turn to a prostitute in a brothel.
I hear you.
So there's a lot of steps that you can take from we're having an issue in our marriage to my husband's at a brothel laying next to a prostitute talking about issues in my marriage.
I think actually, let me just step in really quick. I do think, though, I would like to redirect the conversation, because I do think it's probably a very small portion of people who are married are seeking to bring in a prostitute for the husband. It just seems like such a small kind of, I don't know. What's that really quick?
Statistically, married men are actually the highest number of clientele for prostitutes.
Yes. And that's why I'm saying, please listen for me. I'm literally telling you guys, males come to us and say all this stuff, which is like, they're first scared of you guys because how you might react. Two, they feel like they can't be honest and open with you guys. That's why they result in coming to places like
just
that.
So you guys know, that statistic doesn't mean that the majority of married men go to prostitutes. So
I didn't say that.
No, I know. I'm just letting her know, because she said, like, yes, like it was if it was a debunk.
I
think what he's saying is that the majority of married men don't turn
I'm just saying, like,
to prostitutes.
So
there might be a small
contingent,
contingent, and they might be majority married.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
I think that's a good reason to have, I guess, on the point of, like, something was brought up earlier about, like, what is, like, a responsible marriage to you. So part of being a good partner as, like, a wife or a girlfriend to whoever you're with is making them feel comfortable telling you anything, especially if it's something that they think is serious enough to consider leaving.
I would be so disturbed, though, honestly,
like, if it's serious,
if I was married.
Divorcing you, if they can't explore the sexual fantasy or
stuff like that got said to me, I'd be like,
being good
okay.
on the. I agree with what you're saying here, that they
here we go.
These men don't feel comfortable that they could tell their wives, and I guess that's just a part of being.
Well, because what they want is unreasonable and gross, and they know it.
Any sexual fetish your partner brings to you, it's whatever you're comfortable with and wherever your boundaries are. But I guess that's
it's not part of that you would ask of someone that you actually love and respect,
to you as a friend, as like a confidant, and knowing they're not going to be judged,
right?
But that they'll be a partner with you. And
I do have to move on. So we have a couple chats here I want to try to get through. We have Beaten Cheeks, Candace Owens. Do not hold back on these libs. Wipe the floor with your intelligence. Congrats on being prego again. Be easy with my Essie, though. She's about to get retired out soon.
Okay, first of all, I have beef with Beaten Cheeks because he asked me on a date and then posted a photo with another girl on Twitter.
Oh,
so
are you guys loyal? I mean, he asked you on a date and you guys are committed to committed to Beaten Cheeks with his ridiculous
basically together. So he's posting photos with another woman right after asking me out.
Beaten Cheeks.
He's literally breaking my heart.
Commit this act of infidelity on Essie over here, who you've never met yet. Okay, we have Frankie K. Hey, thank you, man. You know what's funny about Beyonce? She encourages single ladies to have fun, supports promiscuous behavior in her music, and perpetuates the I don't need a man mentality. And when she's done recording, she goes home to her husband and her children, who, by the way, Jay-Z cheated, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Good point, Frankie. Thank you, man. We have Canada J, Candace, the Honey Badger Queen. Is that your nickname?
I don't know.
Or did you just get bestowed with
I just got bestowed.
Thank you for your voice and being on. This wacky space is a cultural battlefield that somehow pushes beyond ideological bubbles. When are Jeremy and Ben going to make Brian an offer? Seriously, think about it.
Yeah. I'll bring it to them. I've got a lot to bring to them.
Yes, the Tiger King.
Yeah, Tiger King and Matt Walsh.
There you go. All right, we have Travel Trades here. Oh, wait, I'll just read. Hi, Brian. Long time no see. Hopefully I can come on once I'm back from Kuwait. Hi, Candace. Thanks for being a voice when I felt odd having conservative behaviors. Excuse me. Your bravery has helped countless people become comfortable with being conservative.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you.
We have Travel Trades. People in this day and time are exceedingly haughty and refuse to pursue the abolition or even suppression of ego in their everyday lives. People appeal their own wants, needs, opinions, ideas, etc. above all else, instead of appealing to something greater from Travel Trades. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. And then lastly, we have Sosaiji. That's probably not, I don't know. Panel, please listen to everything that Candace says. You have a rare opportunity to see what a high value woman is and learn from her, as she's intelligent, respected, and accomplished. You can't justify and make excuses for your lifestyles. Anybody got a response to that one?
Thank you.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right.
I like my lifestyle.
I love my
Okay.
lifestyle
I
and
could
what it's
change it
created
at any
for me.
time. Being in this industry, you don't run out of opportunities. Men are coming all the time. If I wanted to settle down with one of them, I think that could have happened.
Yeah.
Wait, when you say men are coming to you all the time as clients, right?
Yeah.
And you said if you wanted to settle down with any of them, you could, but do you find the men who come to you attractive? Because I mean, I've heard from a lot of women who do OnlyFans, or even women who are exotic dancers, strippers, whatever, and women who do porn or even adult content, that the men that typically like are the fans or consume the content or come and see you, your clients, a lot of these women don't view these men like, just by virtue of them coming to you or by virtue of them subscribing to your OF, like that in and of itself makes them not a prospect for any like long-term relationship.
These are normal guys, and some of them are hot. So I'm a fitness competitor.
Okay, all right.
I'm 46 years old. I figured I was going to age out of the industry. What has happened? MILFs are all the thing. They're the cat's pajamas right now. So I'm getting a ton of
Well, okay, yeah.
I'm getting a lot of youngins.
The
coming.
youngins.
The youngins.
The youngins.
Young gentlemen.
Really?
Tons
Okay.
of them. And then, fitness competitors,
Candace is
judges
all
that judge in the circuits, and then they'll say, hey, you're looking good, or
Hey,
tighten
baby,
this
get
up.
down.
So there's a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of individuals now.
To meet them though, but I mean,
and
when
date,
it comes
and
to
date them,
but
and
when
they
it comes
come
to
back.
long-term commitment, I mean, I think
They want, I agree. What I encounter, and something what Candace said, is these guys, they are prideful. So once they start dating you, they do, in my experience, they do want you to maybe consider settling down. Now, I've done real estate. I was vice president of business growth at an active wealth management company during COVID. I have a master's degree. I can do different things.
Oh, yeah. What do you have a master's in?
Education.
Okay,
I got straight A's.
got it.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
and I taught for a while.
Okay.
So I come in and out. I'll go into white collared work, and then I'll go back into the industry because it's fun for me. I enjoy it, and it is good money, and it's an adventure. I enjoy going out with these guys and being a travel companion and getting to go on vacations.
No, I just wanted to ask you,
Oh.
as the man sitting at this table, are you attracted to their lifestyles? Do you think men are attracted to their lifestyles? I'm just curious about your opinion, just to hear a
Good
male.
thing I don't care.
Well, that's so rude.
No,
He
but
sat
I mean,
here and
good-
asked you your opinion about
no,
everything.
I said like good thing I don't care for
But I
what
didn't-
other male has to say about my industry, though.
But
I'm
he's
just
been
saying.
asking you questions about what you think about men.
No, I'm gonna
He's been
listen to
asking you
him.
questions about your life, and the first thing when I
No,
ask one
he can
question to
say his
him,
question.
you
I'm
say
just
I
saying,
don't
like,
care. I feel like
personally,
I'm very hurt.
like,
I want to know.
Yeah, I
demand
just
an
yeah, but
apology.
why
How dare
interrupt
you?
that? Like when he asks you a question, what if someone said, "I don't care what she says"? I think that's just a
No,
little
like,
rude.
I'm saying like because everybody's always out here. I see your faces that you're giving her and stuff like that. And I think
No,
it's
I
funny.
just am
And so I'm
saying
just
like I'm
saying,
letting her
like-
talk, but I just wanted to hear his opinion on it. So I just
Go
was
ahead,
that like
Brian.
a little bit of insecurity to just jump and say I don't care because
Can I
you could
poach
think,
Candace from the Daily Wire?
well,
I think I need
it
to
was
cut-
just a little rude.
Go ahead,
like,
Brian. I need to
he's
cut-
let
I
you
need to
talk so
defend
much.
her.
We've all been letting people talk with different perspectives. So I just thought it was like suddenly he hasn't even said anything, and you've
there
already
was a
diminished.
few times where
Condescending
Okay, well,
look.
in
yes,
any case,
so
in any case,
it's
so
okay.
I just want to hear
just
a male
continue,
voice. Like we've been all
Okay,
talking about our
I'm
opinions.
trying to let Brian continue, and you're still talking.
Okay.
A little bit
So
of insecurity coming out over
Whoa.
there. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but go on.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, do I have your permission? Is it okay? Is it okay? Okay, cool. So sorry, can you just repeat the question one more
Yeah,
time?
I was just saying like it's interesting because we're all women and we're giving different perspectives and female perspective on this topic. When you hear what she just said about sex work and how she feels about sex work, or you hear what she's saying, or you hear what she's saying, what is your honest opinion as a man? Because what we're trying to get to, I think, the nucleus of is, you know, high value women, high value men, what creates that, how men respond to that. And we have the opportunity to hear a man. You know?
I mean, I personally would not date a woman who is involved in sex work in any of its various manifestations. Just, I mean, it's kind of, I'm not really like a hater if people want to do that sort of thing. When on a societal level, I don't know if it's, you know, the best thing, but I'm kind of like, hey, whatever, go do your thing. But as far as my own personal preferences, standards, and boundaries when it comes to a relationship, I don't foresee myself wanting to get involved with someone who does sex work.
And why do you think that is? I think most men would agree with you. I think that makes sense to me. But why is that? Because I think it's just interesting to hear a male perspective. That's all.
Sure. I mean, well, kind of going back to there being different levels to it. So, I mean, if she's a prostitute or was a prostitute, I mean, it's kind of, I feel like that's just common sense. Like, I wouldn't, no offense, I just wouldn't date a woman who's a prostitute.
I'm not offended, like I said.
And probably they wouldn't want to date me. I don't know. It's fine. It's cool. But yeah, I wouldn't. No, if you're, because I would want monogamy, I'd want loyalty. And even though it's for work and they're just doing it for money, my view of sex is not, I don't think you can, well, people do, but I don't think you ought to detach intimacy from sex. And people who engage in a lot of casual sex or people who do it for work, you've essentially just detached intimacy from sex. So definitely not a prostitute.
He seems very uncomfortable answering this question.
Not a stripper, not a OnlyFans, no.
I feel like that was just like an unnecessarily long way to answer. Like, no dude's gonna want to date a hooker. I don't know. It's like, I don't think it's like that.
Yeah. And I said I don't care because it's like, and you're like, no, don't take offense. Like, I'm not going to take offense to something I don't care about. That's why I'm like,
no, it's just a preempt.
And you stated, you were like, and you looked at me and you said, and don't take offense. Like, baby, I'm not offended by any means. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I'm
totally
not
fine.
looking for a
I'm not,
relationship right now.
I'm not trying to offend you. She was just asking me.
Yeah, I literally was just asking a
stance.
question.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier it was like talked about like promiscuity. Like, I'm assuming you guys believe like promiscuity is like bad or shouldn't be encouraged in society. I was wondering what specific factors do you think encourage it most? Do you believe it's like media? Do you think like birth control has anything to do with it? Do you believe like, I want to know what your top factors of promiscuity are and what you believe it is.
Yeah, so I would say number one contributor is culture and the education system. So I remember when I was left leaning, a lot of my ideas came from the school system and just what you're talking about, Planned Parenthood in the classroom. That effort began in the 70s. The majority of high schoolers were graduating with their virginity intact in the 70s before they started teaching health class, which was teaching people that everybody's doing it, and actually they weren't. And within one decade, it completely flipped, and the majority of teens were now graduating having lost their virginity. So we ceded a lot of that to the education system, which when parents had more control over their children, what was happening in the classroom was based on arithmetic and not cultural issues, and focusing on engineering children to think that sex is this positive, it's you just do it, everybody's doing it, doesn't matter if you have multiple partners. You combine that with feminism in the classroom. I was forced in college to take a feminism 101 course, and they kind of made you think that, yeah.
Beaten Cheeks donated $200. Candace, please tell these women their past promiscuous matters to be with a decent guy that will not be beta males. SC, that was just a friend, we still on relax. Just answer my text and we good, I promise equals D.
All right, thank you, Chief. Was there a question here?
Wait, do you mind if I push back a little bit on the education system comment?
Sure.
Okay. Because at least from the things that I've read and that I've studied, it seems like that is true, but in a very particular context. And that very particular context was like basically abstinence only education, which I don't know about you guys, but makes complete sense to me. Because if you tell teenagers like, don't do this thing is like super, like don't do it. It feels super good, but you're not supposed to do it or whatever. If you phrase it that way, then teenagers are going to go out and do it. Because like at least everything that I've seen recently has been talking about how if you talk about proper sex ed and people who have more access to contraceptives as well as better sex ed tend to have like a lower body count than people who are like in like lower education, less sex ed, less access to contraception. So I was just wondering like your thoughts on that.
I'm telling you, it's not true factually. In the 70s, before they got Planned Parenthood, went in the classroom and started funding initiatives, and they started teaching sex education. There used to not be sex education in school, and the way that they got it into the classroom in the 70s was by saying, you know, it's better to teach them, which is what you're saying, because then they'll be more responsible. It actually, within 1 decade, it flipped. The majority of high schoolers were graduating with their virginity before there was sex education. And then when they put sex education in the classroom, the majority of them within 10 years were not graduating with their virginity. So it actually sexualized children.
Yeah. My understanding, but the reason why was because the first manifestations of sex education was abstinence only.
And it was working is what I'm saying to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was working. So abstinence, it used to be, you know, considered, and I'm not at all trying to, I'm just telling you what the facts are here. Like when abstinence was the cultural simulation, when everyone said you should be abstinent, you should not have sex before marriage, that idea was permeated throughout culture. It was reflected in culture. There were no sex ads. There weren't people naked on the internet, and people lived their lives. It was considered a big thing, you know, to lose your virginity. You were actually considered someone that maybe a guy wouldn't want to marry because you lost your virginity. That was the cultural understanding, like, you know, in the 50s and the 60s. And then in the 70s, you had this fourth wave of feminism that reared its ugly head and started associating sexual promiscuity to freedom, and things completely flipped. Again, I'm just giving you a historical analysis of what happened in the classroom.
Yeah, I'd
without
be interested.
Commentary.
Yeah,
Hold on.
It's okay if you. Sorry, I'll just finish.
Make it quick if you can.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see like where exactly you're getting that from. If like later you can tell me or whatever.
Thomas Sowell, Inside the Education System, and he has
Okay.
all of the sources listed in the back of the book.
Okay, because at least in modern day, do you think that any of that has flipped or no?
No, I think we've become, you know, there was, to use a term, I was actually talking about this yesterday on a podcast. I thought it was pretty brilliant. Paul Joseph Watson, I love his YouTube stuff. And he started talking about hoflation.
That's a thing.
Actually hilarious, which is saying that men used to have to do a lot less and get a very high value woman. He's like, so think about your grandparents and your grandmother. She was a high value woman. She raised the kids. She was conservative. She was beautiful, all of these things. And now we live in this moment where everyone's kind of a hoe, and you have to work harder to get a woman that doesn't have any self-respect or any value. And I just thought it was a really interesting video. It was obviously funny, but he was saying something. And we live in hoflation now, where everybody in their own capacity is selling their bodies. And unfortunately, these are the options that men have. No, I'm not saying, it's stunning to me that women talk about what men need to be and what men need to be, but I think just kind of the complete disintegration of, when I look at, you know, what my grandmother looked like in pictures. She passed in 2013, and just how classy and how beautiful and how much I wanted to be like her. And now I look at, you know, women today, and I just think, man, I feel bad for guys, like, you know, that the pool is getting smaller, but also it's really positive for women that are conservative, and, you know, who it means that you're part of, you know, maybe a smaller pool of individuals. I see it a lot more in the South, and that men should aspire to pursue those women, absolutely, to raise their families and, you know, to raise their kids.
Do you co-sign on the hoflation theory?
I believe, the women today are very low value. And so it's funny because the simulation is like, men ain't shit is kind of the thing everybody's saying. Don't need a man. And it's funny that someone brought up Beyonce, because she's living the exact opposite of what she's singing. She's just making money because she knows how to make money in a hoflationary environment. You know, smart woman. She's like, I'm just going to pretend to be a hoe, but then actually privately, I'm going to be like super. Like,
hold on. You wanted to come in, then you, please, if you can, try to keep it brief, because I need to get to chat.
I was just going to say that my version of my sex education was literally them showing us a birthing photo or a video. Sorry.
Yeah, in 4th grade.
That terrified me, and I was like, actually, I don't think I want to have sex for a long time. I think I'm good.
Yeah, those are pretty disturbing.
And speaking of hoflation, I mean, we're always trending, apparently, right? Because
Who's we?
Hoes. Because without us hoes, you wouldn't have like that many views to be watching, right? You have hoes come on the podcast
to talk about our.
I'm not knocking hoes.
She's done
I'm
there.
saying,
I don't want to be a host.
I'm saying you have hoes, and when I say you have hoes coming onto the podcast, you know you're a hoe.
Do
If
you
you're
mean
a
a
hoe.
literal hoe or like more of the
That's
colloquial?
Brian's dream.
You know what I mean?
You have hoes, Brian.
So you sit
What?
here and you want to bash sex workers, but you know we come
When
on
did
here.
I
we
bash?
bash
When did I
anybody.
bash?
Anybody.
I don't think
There was-
anybody
there
has
was
bashed.
very
He's
little
bringing you
bashing.
on here and giving you a platform to speak. So I
Yeah.
think that if he was going to be bashing you, he wouldn't even allow
But
anybody
making
on.
us
The hero
making
of
a
hoes, if you
scene,
will.
Wait, what do you mean making what?
making a scene. Like
I'm not making anybody seem
hoflation,
any
you know,
sort of like.
No, I'm just talking
we're
about a video.
trending.
Oh, I'm-
we're a trending topic, so it's relevant to speak on.
Because it's interesting.
Wait, what?
It's
Yeah.
fascinating. I am
That's what I'm
fascinated
saying.
by hoes. I'll say it. I'm absolutely fascinated by the way the hoe mind works, the way the hoe hive works. I'm fascinated.
Next
I cover it on
documentary.
my show. You
And
are
it is
correct. It is
trending. I'm saying,
trending.
and that's why
When
it's such a
Emma
hot
gets
topic
up
to
and does a
speak about.
video and says something like, it's chic to be divorced before you're 30. It is absolutely fascinating to see how someone's mind can be so warped. In the same way that I think it's fascinating when anybody does anything crazy or says anything crazy, and I cover it on my podcast. I am not knocking it at all. I just tell people what the facts are. You can choose this
Yeah.
lifestyle. And here is where you are 99.9% likely to lead in your life, right?
Yeah.
You are probably not destined for marriage.
He's
You're
pimping
probably
these
not
hoes.
destined for a stable relationship.
That's
Men
what
are going to
he's
not want
doing.
this long term. You can say it 1,000 times. You can have 1,000 cultural examples, and women's still got to go out there and be hoes, because they're about their money and about a Cardi B song or whatever it is. So yes, I think it is fascinating. And it is why I wanted to, talk. This is why I talk about it on my podcast and why
About
I'm
a
going
Cardi
to talk to
B
you guys. I hope
song.
you guys feel that I've been respectful and listening to, your lifestyles, even though it's so different from mine. And so I appreciate Brian for hosting.
Well, thank you for coming, Candace. Let's see. I have a couple chats here, and then I have one more question, and then I think Candace will have to leave here in a moment. We have Yvonne. Okay.
Modern Life Dating donated $199. Hey, Candace. Thank you
Who
for
is
being a
donating
voice
this
of
much
common
money
sense
to
and a
this
good
guy?
representation of
Jeez.
being a decent woman in today's modern perverse time. What are your thoughts on the passport bro movement of men leaving America for better
Oh,
wives
God.
abroad?
Hey,
Poor
John, thank you
bros.
very much for the TTS.
See what?
Maybe a brief little snippet on this, if you can.
Yes. Yeah. I think that you can find higher quality women in other places. Like, I married an Englishman. I think
Are
America.
you a passport?
Passport
Not a
lady.
bro, but
passport
like
cis.
a passport cis.
Passport cis.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that America has really lowered the cultural standards for women more than any. You don't see this kind of, even this, the way women dress in America compared to England fascinates me. And so, yeah, I think find a
English
wife,
women
do
are
what you gotta
worse
do,
than
but also
Irish
don't discount
women,
the
be
South, because there
real.
are so many good women in the South, in America. Come to Tennessee. They're wonderful.
I have heard something kind of interesting on this, is that you have a lot of men in the West, a lot of men in the US going overseas to try to find perhaps a wife who's a bit more feminine, or whatever they're not finding here in the West. But you don't hear of men
They can't
from other
afford a
countries
feminine woman
in
from the
droves
US.
coming to the US to find a wife here. You don't really hear that. So all right, we have Yvonne St. Simonis. Candace, I know you're listening to these women with the realization that this country is doomed. How will you help your son navigate the swamp before you right now? And if we can just try to be...
I moved to the South as soon as I got pregnant the first time. I moved where my values aligned, and my son will be just fine.
Perfect. We have Goodest Boy. One of them is too young to remember the movie Pretty Woman. Imagine a guy just wanting a better life for the both of you, and maybe even a family. Again, the world is effed. Hey, Goodest Boy, thank you. Yvonne. Candace, do you think Lyndon B. Johnson has anything to do with the fact that these women that have an OnlyFans are actually able to find a relationship with a man?
I don't know how we correlated Lyndon B. Johnson to
Yeah, I
the
was-
OnlyFans account.
LBJ?
Yeah. he died
Are you familiar with
before
anything with
LBJ,
LBJ?
Of course.
Okay. Yvonne St. Simonis. Candace, what specific steps will you take to ensure that your daughter does not become one of the women sitting at the panel right now?
It would just be impossible in my household. We keep her away from this kind of secular living, keeping them away from tablets, not letting them be raised on Instagram and social media and TikTok, making sure that they have family values instilled in them, that they know what the cross represents, and that they're church-going children. And it's all about who you hang out with. You will become the average of the people you spend your most time with. And I appreciate the time here, but I would definitely say that I want my kids to be in a different climate.
All right, we have the Castman 777. Marriage must be a closed and permanent relationship between two people for the purpose of raising children. Without this definition, marriage just becomes dating with a contract. Sending your husband to a sex therapist for sex is just prostitution with a loophole. Hey, the Castman 777. Thank you very much for your comment there. Final question here before Candace has to take off. Would any of you date a trans person?
Yes.
A trans person?
Yeah.
I feel like if I say no, I'm going to get a lot of backlash.
Well,
but I think my
just
personal
be
preference,
honest.
I would say no.
Okay, that's fine.
No.
No.
Hell
Well,
no.
you're married. Me personally, I would not. My question to you guys is, would any of you object to a man not wanting to date a transgender woman?
I think everybody has their own personal preferences, and if there's one thing you're allowed to be super picky on, it's who you date. Like, I think that's the only thing that you can 100% have free reign on. You can date who you decide.
I would completely agree with her. Like we talked about before, I think that everyone should have boundaries, and as long as that person's upfront and honest and they can have like a adult conversation that isn't rooted in hatred, I don't think there's anything wrong with preferring somebody that isn't trans.
Okay. I have a question. So, this has been like a thing that's gone viral on this podcast before, and it always seems to spark quite a debate. So, would you consider it to be gay for a man to date a trans woman?
Yes.
For a man to date, no.
Very gay.
Would you categorize him as straight?
Probably, yeah. Because what is it? Oh, sorry.
This is
Here,
like
Azalea.
technical.
I
mean, I just.
If you don't want to answer, that's
like,
fine. Go ahead. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. Go ahead.
I'm with Pixie. I don't think that makes them gay at all.
SE?
I have no clue.
prefer not to answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Question. Does your answer change based on the stage of transition? Like, what if this is before any transition has occurred at all, but the person has come to the realization that they are transgender?
Well, I would assume that you have some level of like homosexual inclination if you're a man attracted to a person who looks and represents as a man, like if you're saying pre-transition, I would say like if you're attracted to those components of that person.
But pre-transition, if you are transgender, are you a woman?
Pre-transition, you're a woman who hasn't transitioned yet, so you're presenting as a male.
What if there hasn't been any
presenting as a
bottom
male
surgery?
What do you mean?
Like there's still an appendage.
So you're saying they transitioned everything but their bottom.
Maybe they're in the process of transitioning. Let's say everything but the.
Okay, I feel like I'm kind of confused here, so I'll just leave it in these sentences.
Seems really technical. Two people that have penises. I don't care how you feel on your inside. I don't care if you dress and you wear a dress, or you wear a wig. If you come together and you have sex, you're gay. And I think that is homosexual, right? So I know that people are trying. It is convoluted. So I understand why you're like, you're trying to make it something else, and it's in your head. And but what if you feel like a woman? It's very simple. If you are a man and you are having sex with a man, irrespective of how you feel or whether or not you've mutilated your body or you've chopped something off, it doesn't make you not a man. You're a man. And two men coming together to have sex with their appendages intact, obviously, is homosexual sex. So
yeah, I think
or not intact.
It's different if you're presenting completely different, because at that point, like, you have men who say that they've been trapped or whatever, and I'm like, that person is straight. They literally slept with someone who was like presenting as a woman, looked like a woman.
They weren't trapped.
Like, I wouldn't consider that gay. But at the end of the day, like, honestly, I don't really care about people's sexual orientation that much. I feel like this is like kind of a culture war issue. And for some people, culture war issues are important, but I'd rather talk like policy about something. I don't know if that makes me boring here, but
well, I'm not sure I'm totally following, but I guess so. What is a woman?
I've answered this question before on the podcast.
Here, I can start with Azalea. Did I say your name right? I'm sorry.
No,
Azalea?
You never do, but it's okay.
Okay, go ahead. Well, so what is a woman?
I mean, I think that gender is a spectrum. I obviously know that you do not agree with me, and a lot of the conservative people here won't agree with me, but I guess it's just how you present and how you feel. I mean, I don't like to structure things that way and like make it so black and white. I think that people should represent themselves and be what they want to be, and it's nobody else's business, to be honest.
A female is somebody that has a vagina. That's what it says in the book, right? Okay,
Which
cool.
book? The Bible?
The health ed book.
Oh, the health ed book.
But, okay,
is a vagina.
okay.
No, but what
gender
is a-
and sex are two different things. So
Okay.
You answered the question correctly, so I
Okay.
don't want you to feel like you answered it wrong.
What is a woman?
A woman is
I'm like,
somebody.
this is so complex. I'm
Yeah,
scared.
it doesn't need to be.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It doesn't.
A
need to
woman
be.
is somebody who presents or acts as the social construct of women. And the reason why I don't say biology is because whenever we look at biology, the truth is, before coming to this room, I did not look at anybody's genitalia here. I did not look at any of your chromosomes. I just assumed you guys were women because of how you dress and act. So I think that maps on more to our reality of how we use the word woman.
Essie.
This is so controversial. I'm very like a man and a woman. Man has a penis, woman has a vagina. Biologically, man and a woman.
I agree. I think that it's like whatever biologically and anatomically what you've got going on.
I feel like what brings out my feminine qualities the most is the thought of being a mother in the future. So I guess I associate being a woman with being a mother in all aspects of that.
Okay.
That's
Lily.
my answer.
Your gender is decided before you're born, when you're born, and for the rest of your life.
I'm having a little boy. The doctor knows that. I know that because he's got a penis that is growing inside of my stomach right now, which is kind of trippy to think about. If I get onto this table and I start meowing like a cat, I don't suddenly become a biological cat because I present like a cat and wear a tail and say meow meow. That is probably means that I need to talk to a therapist. Not you. But yeah, it's not that difficult. It doesn't need to be convoluted. It doesn't need to be controversial. A woman, to answer your question, is an adult female.
Adult human female.
It is an adult human female, and that is the answer to something that it's just shocking to me that every person knew, every child, and then within just a couple of cultural years, everyone is so confused about, water being a liquid. It's very, like, again, I'm fascinated by it. So I love to talk to people that are confused by that. But if you were born with a vagina, you are a female. And if you were born with a penis, you are a male. And if you had some rare thing happen, which hardly ever happens, but people always talk about it, where you're born with both parts, you might be intersex, hermaphrodite. But generally speaking, I think we know that means that something genetically went wrong. And we are born either male or female.
Pixie, do you object to her definition?
Yeah, because I think I understand where you're coming from, but I think when it comes to day-to-day use of words, they have to map onto our reality somewhat. And the truth is, like, as I didn't check anyone's like biology or chromosomes before coming here, you can say it's an act, but the truth is it's an act that everybody plays into. Everybody looks at how a person looks like and says, "Oh, they're a
Why
woman
do
or
we
male," based off of
pretend that you
And you
can't
can say, "Oh, that
tell?"
person is putting on a disguise." That doesn't change their real gender or anything, but everybody acts that way. So to me, it's like, no, like the word that maps or the definition that maps most onto reality, onto our day-to-day usage, is appearance-based.
Candace does have to.
And they
take off
appear
here. Do you
to
have
be
a
the
final
sex
response
they
to her
are.
Yeah,
before you leave?
if you grow an afro and wear a wig and put, a lot of black makeup on, you're not a black woman, so your appearance doesn't actually mean anything. You are, you're not black. And the same way that I'm not white. So if we can trick someone, you might be able to trick me. I think Rachel Dolezal did a really good job tricking people into believing that she was black for a long time by darkening her skin, getting super tan, and wearing fake wigs, but she wasn't actually a black woman. So how you feel on the inside and how you present, you might be able to trick people, but that makes you a liar, not a woman. So yeah, that's what I would say in closing.
Yeah.
If you want, you could direct your further comments to me afterwards. But guys, please be sure to check out Candace Owens' documentary,
Yes,
Convicting a Murderer.
You guys will love it.
Tomorrow.
It's not political.
Yeah,
I'm going to watch it tomorrow.
It'll be live on X.
Live on X and
Yeah.
thedailywire.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, be sure to check that out, guys. Well, Candace, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And honestly, I really did appreciate talking to you guys. Thought it was fascinating. I think everyone was super respectful. So I really appreciate it. And you, because you're so young, I'm just going to say a prayer for you because I really do believe that in there, there's just a different life for you, and I'm just gonna say a prayer for you tonight. I just wanted to say that because I felt
for me tonight.
I
don't know what that prayer entails.
Well, I'm gonna say it anyways. Yeah, someday you might.
Are you you're rejecting the prayer?
Yes.
Prayer is rejected. Okay.
I am rejecting your prayer.
The show goes on, but Candace is leaving. Guys, give me just a sec to say goodbye. Yo, guys, W's in the chat for Candace. W's in the chat for Candace. 07's in the chat for Candace. Sorry, I'll scoot over a little bit.
She pregnant. Look at her pregnant ass.
Guys, give me just a sec while I say goodbye, and then we'll continue with the stream. Oh, wait, Madison.
Oh, Madison's gonna sit here.
I know. It was condescending.
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree with her. She's telling her that was kind of condescending. Yeah, it was. All right, what did you all think? Those that are still watching. There's some comments I haven't responded to. A lot of men are frankly demoralized by women, and Marky goes on to say women by men too. You know, I think that's true, but I think there's intentional, like, programs like this don't really help, do they? There is this artificial media gender war that is being perpetrated against all of us. And obviously it impacts women, it impacts men, and how we get sucked into it is different. And I talked about this on my last live stream where I was talking about, you know, how these kind of online communities play on people's feelings of victimization, and they often will play on feelings of victimization about experiences that people haven't even had, you know? So this came up with, or it's coming up a lot recently around discussion of marriage and how men are just, you know, devastated in divorce. And they're basically trying to convince men not to get married. And we already have a problem with that in this culture as it is, you know, of people not getting married, especially of children being born out of wedlock, of families being kind of all over the place, single parenthood. It's not a good thing for society if people aren't getting married and starting families. I mean, then it goes at looking at a decline in the birth rates, which is not good for society as well. So you hush. I will have to go shortly because he's being fussy. Seth said Candace didn't bother me as much as I thought she would. I mean, I think too, she wasn't like the main thing. I did watch recently, she had given a talk at, what was it, Penn State, maybe? Maybe I'm wrong about the university. And she was responding to students, and a lot of it was, oh God, it was cringe. But she handled herself pretty well, and she's like heavily pregnant up there. So kudos to her. It was okay. So tell me about Ethereal. What Fresh and Fit is the podcast you want me to cover next time I do a response like this? I am a little disturbed though. Yeah, some of that discussion was really disturbing. I was really disturbed by kind of and I think Polar Nights maybe addressed this in the chat earlier, but this weird belief that these women have, and not all of them, but a number of them have, that it is, you know, any sort of fantasy or inclination or desire that a man is having, he has a right to have fulfilled. I think that's a problem, and that kind of mentality is really dangerous overall. It's been very devastating in this culture, the effects of that. The idea that then it would, if his wife isn't going to do whatever deviant act, and what she was putting out there. I mean, Candace said at the end that she was going to say a prayer for the 22-year-old courtesan. Like, I can't even imagine, like, thinking about her. She's 22. I'm just thinking about me when I was 22. To be in that kind of, like, world, I mean, it would really warp you. It would really warp your thinking, wouldn't it? It would warp your mindset. You would have totally skewed idea of life, relationships, expectations. They had mentioned that the majority of clients, quote unquote, of sex workers are married men. Of course, that does not mean that the majority of married men are seen sex workers, but that just was like their mindset because of the world they're in. We are products of our environment. So just kind of, I was really disturbed by that and thinking I could see like Candace being kind of like sitting across from this 22-year-old girl who's in this like cutout outfit, and she's a hoe, a courtesan, all of it. Like, and I would hope a different life for her as well. I mean, because like the way she's thinking, just the way that her mind has been warped by it, it's wrong. She should have a deeper view or a broader view of things. Like, there are bigger things in the world than, And I think that's the other thing too about like marriage and the fact that it comes up about that. Like, marriage ultimately is about sacrificing for the other and for the unit. Not every whim and fantasy of yours is supposed to be, fulfilled by your wife. To me, it was just like, and if your wife isn't going to do that, doesn't give you permission to go get it from a prostitute, or even if she gives it. And I'm just thinking about that, like how there's something not functioning in these marriages. And I can see that people don't want to divorce because of the difficulty of it and the challenge of it. And they'd rather just keep their thing they have going. But yeah, to call that a marriage at that point, like there is the marriage bond, the marriage covenant, the covenant of it has been broken at that point. So I did appreciate Candace's response to that, and me just watching it, I was disturbed, and disturbed for her, disturbed for Olivia, the 46-year-old sex worker, sex therapist. I don't know. Let's see. It's a way of thinking that comes from feeling worthless. I mean, that's hard to say. I don't know how that young woman feels about herself, but I mean, you have to think, how does a woman that age become a legal prostitute at a brothel? Like, it doesn't come out of nowhere, that kind of life. You don't get into that life without having some things happen along the way that kind of lead you there. And it's not a judgment of her at all, because, honestly, like, not all of her responses were weird to me, or she wasn't like, some of her opinions were correct about things, but when it came down to like these subjects, she's clearly like in a position, and her work is to, gratify these men. And you know, that story about the man whose parents brought him to the brothel to lose his virginity. Why would you want your son's loss of virginity to be with a prostitute? Like, I know that people do this stuff, but I would want and hope, if I had a son, if I had a child, that the first time they have sex with someone, that it's like somebody that they actually have some sort of emotional bond to, someone that they actually like care for very deeply, at the least. What? I wouldn't want them to, I would not want that for them. Like, just pay someone to sleep. Like, that's not, was there more to that story? Was there something wrong with him that they didn't think he would ever? But I think it was wrong. I think that's wrong. There's something wrong about it. Some women are just built different. I think that too, and that's something that you have to kind of take into consideration with these conversations as well. Like, we want to make it all about like socialization or politics or that kind of thing. And I think the reality is not everybody has the same sort of emotional or psychological responses to things. But I don't know. I wonder about it too, because I do think that there is something damaging that happens when intimacy is divorced from sexual behavior or from sex. I do think that. I totally believe that. It just is so obvious. It's so obvious because, like, I think about the women I know who've been like promiscuous or had like a lot of hookups and that kind of thing, and they've been really damaged by it. Even if you aren't promiscuous, but you like have like a relationship, let's say like a long-term relationship that doesn't go well, that's damaging as well. Like, so anyway, a lot of people out here are jaded, and I think that kind of podcasts like this, do help further that feeling of jadedness and disconnection, and you're going to watch it and feel demoralized. But like, again, this is just a small portion of the population. This isn't the average person. And when you're looking for a relationship with someone, there are people out there that are going to be friendly, cooperative, have similar values, they exist. And this kind of content is out there to try to demoralize you further. Of course, you're going to meet people that, aren't that way as well. But that's just life. People are different. People have different values. And you have to like weed through and find that out. Go on, sweetie. Yeah, it's not their fault. It's the other thing too. Like Candace was talking about, it was Candace and Pixie, I think they were having that back and forth about the sex education system and how that has impacted the culture. I think that's a very small part of it, honestly. Like, I think overall, the media culture, film, television, magazines, mainstreaming of pornography, that kind of thing has done more to push these kind of ideas and to push people into being more sexual. I think that's had a much bigger part to play in it, because you see it in a movie, you see it in a film, you see it in most movies, you see it in most TV shows now. And it's ever expanding, the kind of things that we're seeing in these things. And this, people absorb ideas a lot more readily when it's through image and through story. That those help break down those barriers. Stories break down the barriers more than anything else. That therapist was nuts. But then she's a product of her reality too. And the New York Post, that the way they titled that article was intended to be salacious and to get clicks. So it's not as if she was leading with that kind of ridiculous statement that she's saving marriages. But I mean, from her worldview, you have to look at it that way as well. She's been doing this work for how many years? She finds it difficult to leave because of the appeal of it, the fun, the money, the kind of glamour of it. She, because it sounds like she's doing sugaring work as well, based on what she said, because she had mentioned that she goes on vacation with guys. So that's pretty common. So I think that would be something that's difficult to give up. But if she's like working regularly with, I have no doubt that she works with couples. I have no doubt that married men and women come to her together to like work out their issues, or that, there are married women who don't want to sleep with their husbands who just send them to her. Because so from her perspective, this is reality, this is what she does. I have no doubt, I didn't feel that, she was being dishonest in anything she was saying. But again, it's like, to me, I'm not married, but I would never, ever be okay with that. Never. That would be so horrible. That would be like, I would feel so even hurt by the idea. And like, yeah, the young woman who said that the guy whose wife was dying of cancer had sent him into the brothel, to go get his needs taken care of. Like, come on. You believe that? I mean, thankfully most of the other women around the table were like, yeah, right, dude. But I mean, yeah, that's heartbreaking. That's really heartbreaking. It's the last thing that I think a woman who is dying, would want. I know. Could you where are my $200 and like $199 donations? Like, and it's like, again, but that's the other thing too. And I really appreciate it. I don't know her name, the girl in the young courtesan. I didn't remember her name, but yeah, she pointed out very clearly that his podcast, his whole shtick is like hoes. He invites women who are hoes of some kind, for lack of a better term. I like that. I think that's fair because it's that hoe culture, He invites on women who are OnlyFans models, sex workers of different kinds, usually cam models. And they're up there and they're often like debating issues around dating with like red-pilled guys, right? That's the whole thing, And that is, to me, yeah, I mean, he's just pimping those women. Like, so yeah, I hope they were paid for their appearance. Definitely. Nero, someone's saying hi to you. They obviously think that what they're doing is justified or empowering. Well, I mean, I don't know. Because, okay, like, I think with some of it, there is a gray area of like the older woman who is a sex worker who was talking about like her thing, like, I'm not here to say she's not justified in what she does. Like, you know, it sounds, I don't doubt what she was saying was true. But I feel like for me and for how I see things, that's just not any kind of way I would want to live or anything I would be comfortable with, you know? And I don't think, I understand that there are many people out there who are married who don't respect their marital covenants, okay? They don't see marriage as anything other than a relation of property, assets, and legality, okay? But the other aspects of their relationships are more up for interpretation. I mean, that's really common and it's unfortunate. I think that is unfortunate. I will say that I don't think that that's correct, but that is the way, unfortunately, a lot of people do see their marriage relationships. So I don't know how to respond to that. She's just filling, you know, a gap in the market that way, doing what she does best. Or I don't know if it's what she does best, but it's something she knows how to do. And people do seek her out for that. So but I feel like, yeah, it's a bit of a stretch to say that that is good in any sense or desirable. And empowering, to touch on the empowering thing, you have to understand having money is empowering. When women talk about sex work being empowering to them, they're talking about the money. They are talking about the money. They are talking about having access to money that they wouldn't have if they worked a normal job. And that's the appeal of it. And that is the end of it. And they do feel empowered by that because it is empowering. It is. And, you know, yeah. And my hope is just that, you know, things work out for them. Again, I don't think it's appropriate to, judge a woman in that position or to rag on or bash women that are working in that industry. I understand why they do it. It's just there's a problem in the culture that it is so mainstream, and there is a problem that it is so accepted, and it's kind of skewing people's minds in a way that is really damaging to them and to the culture at large. So but on a personal level, for them it is empowering. You have to understand that it is, because it's fun to like sit around, or it's easy to sit around and be like, prostitution isn't empowering, sex work isn't empowering. That's a myth. And by and large, it isn't. By and large, it's a one track to a life that you don't want in a lot of ways. But they're thinking about the money. And if they keep their mind on that, and they, behave correctly, and they have an exit plan, hopefully things will work out for them. That's my hope for them, because, I feel for that young woman. She's 22. She's 22 years old. And she's dealing with all of this, I just think that's horrible. It's horrible that a 22-year-old is working in such a capacity. Well, anyway, those are my thoughts, and some of your thoughts as well. Thanks for watching this with me. I have been on now for a while. That took a while to get through. I hope you enjoyed watching it with me. Be sure to give the video a like, subscribe if you aren't, and join me again for another video. I may check out the show that I think Ethereal Land was recommending, the Fresh and Fit. I don't know though. I hope it's not like one of those ones where like men are just sitting around bashing, because I will get a little bit sick of that, but you know, we could give it a try. Seth says, I just think about how the content is forever, so it's like you never get out of it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, that woman, she's like, well, when I retire, then I'll, you know, look at having a relationship. And it's like, yeah, but you're going to be, what you're doing now is going to have reverberations. And just because you're not doing it anymore does not mean that men are going to be comfortable with the fact that you once were, and you were so open about it. You know, it's not like it's hidden. It's not like it's something that, you know what I mean? It's not like something you were doing on the sly. It's something that's very much out there and will be out there forever. And I think, yeah, that does pose a lot of problems to most men. I mean, I think, you know, it comes down to like a big part of, you know, modern sex positivity, sex positive feminism. And one of the things that they really do get wrong is they don't recognize, you know, they cater so much to male sexuality in so many ways, but they don't understand that male psychology is different than female psychology. And they're going to respond differently. Like Candace was talking about how men are prideful. They are, and men want to take pride in their families. Their wives especially are a source of either great pride or shame to them. And, you know, if you have a wife that is any man can have access to, that does, most men are just not, I don't want to call it secure enough, but like it's going to cause psychological trouble for him. Even if he still wants to be with you and still loves you, like that's going to cause him pain on a psychological level, that, you know, you're out there in that way and that other men have access to you that in that way. Like it's just, but anyway, it's a whole can of worms. So I appreciate all of you. Thanks for being here. And I'll be back another time soon. Okay. Bye.